Spanish-style homes embody timeless elegance and rich cultural heritage, each telling a story of intricate craftsmanship and inviting warmth. Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting 5 spaces that showcase the distinguishable style, from an 100-year-old Hollywood Hills home to a renovated West Palm Beach cottage. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Law. Welcome to my home in LA. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
I'm Elizabeth Law, I go by Law, and this is my home in Los Angeles. This house was built in 1923. It was a part of the Hollywoodland development, and it was alleged to be one of the first. I heard one of the first, actually the third house built in Hollywoodland. I don't know if that's true, but it was certainly one of the first ones. I found some really awesome old photos where, you know, there was tons of space between each house. When the development was built, there were, I believe, 3 options of architectural styles, one of them being Spanish. So this is kind of quintessential Hollywoodland. It's in Beechwood Canyon, right under the Hollywood sign. So when I saw this house for the first time, I walked through the gate into this courtyard, and I absolutely was struck by the entry, the architecture, the whole thing, and it really did feel, I mean, it was exactly what I was looking for in every way. The outside, inside thing for Los Angeles is just perfect. Having this much space in this neighborhood was, you know, unexpected. So it felt like home immediately. This is Luna. She's gonna be joining us today, I believe. And welcome. This is the foyer. This is the first room that you enter in the house, and I have some of my favorite things here right upon entry. I've got these Spanish chairs that I got from a friend. This sculpture is actually by Angelica Houston, and she gave this to me. It's one of my favorites. She makes these little women, and I think they're just fabulous. This is also a family gift. A friend, painter John Alexander, his lily pads are my favorite. I always do this round mirror or a big mirror in the entry because it's a lot of impact and people tend to like that. So no, this space is sort of weirdly, this is actually used to sit in. So no, it wasn't a hard space. It is an odd space for sure because there's arches, you know, on every wall almost. So. But no, it's just a good catch-all, really. And next is the living room. So this room is where there's lots of hang time, very cozy, tons of seating, and it's just a collection of old, new things that I've found along the way. I've got Brutalist, I've got Deco, I've got something from India. This fireplace was sponge painted gold when I bought this house. So I painted it white, and I got the Talavera tile, which is very era appropriate Spanish. And I tiled it myself, so don't look too closely because it is far from perfect, but at least it looks better. This is my newest prized possession. It's a painting by Martha Manns. I got it at a gallery in Santa Fe. Santa Fe in particular holds a very special place to me. So this is called Dangerous Beauties, and it is cactus flower, and I think it is just so fabulous. This rug is actually the first thing that I bought like as an adult for my apartment when I was, 21 or so, like a big, grown-up purchase, which was really exciting. Oh, another thing I was going to show you. This, I've gotten a lot of art at estate sales because it's just a great place to find things that you wouldn't have expected. And this painting, I did not realize, was actually by Janet Gaynor, who was the first woman to win an Academy Award at the first ceremony. So I thought it was so cool because this is about the time when this house was built. So, whenever I can find little historical elements like that, I try to incorporate it. These chairs were just a fun thing that has an interesting story because I found them on an auction, didn't buy them. About a year later, they popped up on eBay, and they're without question the same chairs. So I ended up getting them, and I found an old postcard in them. I don't know where it is, but there was a postcard just shoved in there that was from like 1925, and it was a thank you note from someone written in Swedish. So that was kind of cool. So the hardwood floors are original. What they did in probably the 80s, which was a popular thing, they wanted to make the skinny wood look like bigger, wider planks. So they made these weird grooves in them, which is a shame because it really dates it, but that they are original floors for sure. And these arches, very Spanish. The beams, very Spanish. I did just have them stained because they had been stained a red to kind of do this more mid-century thing, which just wasn't right for the house. So I had them stained back, but they are real, redwood beams that's what everything was made out of back then. I have books upon books upon books. A lot of them, most of them are art or design related. This is a new one that I just got, which is really cool, woman made. It has also like every female designer in history. Santa Fe, of course, and then over here, more books. I have quite a collection of interior design and artists. So this tea set I actually got in Morocco when I was 10 with my dad. We were in Portugal on a family trip, which I credit also with being highly influential in my design aesthetic with those Mediterranean style houses. And my dad came up with a plan then and there that when everybody turned 10, we would go on an individual dad-child trip, and we went to Morocco. We drove there way before GPS, so I had a map and shotgun, and we made our way down there. So I bought that when I was 10 years old. We drove from Portugal through Spain to, the ferry and took a ferry over to Morocco. These I have two of these candelabras. They are antique and they were gifts, so I unfortunately don't know that much about them, but they're really beautiful, and I love a candle. There are candles everywhere. And these are pretty awesome when it's all lit. When I'm entertaining, I definitely like to put the candles all out and have them all lit. Very vibey in here, but I have also learned the hard way that sometimes too many candles can be a problem. So it depends on the kind of party I'm having. These old plaster homes are really well made for climate, honestly. So while we'll get a lot of sun coming through this side of the room in the afternoon, which is also very fun because my disco ball in about an hour will be all over the space, which is very fun. But honestly, the heat is not so much of a problem in here because it's just so well insulated because of the way this house is built, which is amazing given that it is 100 years old. These right here are some mid-century pendant lights that were given to me by a family friend who I actually apprenticed with before I went to Parsons. So I kind of shadowed her, worked with her for maybe 9 months or so, and she gave these to me probably when I was actually in college. And so they have moved all over the place with me since then, and I love them. So another great thing about this living room are the original windows and doors. This room has 2 sets of French doors that go straight outside of the courtyard. So let's have a look. This house is a little over 2,000 square feet. It technically is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, but I've kind of reconfigured things to have different purposes for my use in this house. So my personal style is definitely eclectic. I think it leans in the Spanish and sort of old world vibe. When I was looking for a house to buy, I had all of that in mind. What I already had really works. So it's eclectic. I have Art Deco, I have Brutalist, I have, you know, Gothic Spanish, I have contemporary pieces, I have family heirlooms. So it really is a mix. So this is my courtyard. It is a perfect place to have an alfresco meal. It's really peaceful up here in Beechwood Canyon, so it's often very, very quiet, which is amazing. I've done very little to the outside space because it's just, the original house is exactly as it should be. I've done some of the planting and of course the disco ball. I spent a good amount of time out here because the weather in LA just allows you to be outside. We're in January and it is perfect out. So we spend a lot of time out here, lots of meals out here, and I have a seating arrangement that's, you know, with fire pit and all, so that it can also be used as sort of your outdoor living space. The awnings in the house are not original to the house. The previous owners would have put them in, but I kept them because they really work. It sort of gives a hotel vibe too, which is fun. I wish I had a green thumb. I sure try. My parents are really good at it. I am not. At the moment, nothing's really flowering. I did put a lot of flowers in, but it's just not the season. I have gardenias, which we have at the farm back home in South Carolina. So that's really nice because the fragrance of them is so nostalgic for home. I planted an orange tree and a lot of succulents. It's just to kind of fill it in a little bit because this is all mostly hardscape. So the fun thing about the courtyard too is that the house is really situated around it. So this would be a bedroom, that's another bedroom, that's the dining room, and then of course the living room. So it's all very central around this space, which is really nice for indoor-outdoor living. So that is the lovely courtyard, and now I'll show you the rest of the house. Both of my parents are pretty creative people, and my mother was a designer before she had kids. So my childhood certainly influenced my design. I don't know that where I came from is so much an influence as how I was brought up. We traveled a lot. For instance, I have a tea set here in the living room that I got when I was 10 on a trip to Morocco. So I have a lot of influence that comes from all over. Before we check out the dining room, I want to show you something really quick. It's the powder room. I haven't done too much in here since I bought the house, except the wallpaper and the light fixtures, which was really important to me. A powder room is always my jewel box moment in a house. Love wallpaper, especially when it shows flora. So this, along with the light fixtures, really brought it back to sort of an old world feeling that I thought was missing in this space. And it's fun, like a fun departure from the rest of the house. And then this space is just a great little vestibule with this beautiful carved mirror that I still just am so excited about. It's really super beautiful, Spanish as well. And there's this, you know, more indoor-outdoor living. There's this very sweet Juliet balcony that looks out over the backyard. When I moved to Los Angeles in my early 20s, I actually worked in music. I wanted to be a music manager. That was the dream. And so I did work in music for a while, but I always found myself, you know, redesigning my own place. Friends would call me to come over and do theirs. So it was really a hobby that was taking up a lot of my time, and I enjoyed it so much. And the music thing just wasn't really what I had fantasized that it would be. So I went to the East Coast for a little bit before I went to school in New York, and I apprenticed under a good family friend who's an interior designer. I worked with her for under a year, but it was really informative and useful. And so then I went up to New York and went to Parsons and did their interior design program, which was amazing. And going back to school was such a different experience than just being an undergrad. So that was very valuable. And I kind of launched from there through word of mouth, friends of friends, and so on, and just kind of jumped. And now let's check out the dining room. So now we're in the dining room, and one of the first things I was able to do when I bought this house was take out the ceiling fan that was once above the dining table. So I found this beautiful brutalist iron chandelier from France, and it's super unique, fits the space so well, especially over the round table. So that made a big impact in this room. Another thing that was odd was that these beams had been faux finished in like a purple and green faux wood something or other. So that I obviously had to get rid of as well, and kind of just pared it down and brought it back to just being a more simple space. Again, I have lots of just found collected things. This mirror right here is a family heirloom from my grandmother, so that's very, very special. This piece of art over on this side of the room, my brother went on a backpacking trip throughout Asia, and this is actually on linen. So he had this, and he knows that I love elephants, so this is an elephant ink drawing, I suppose, on a piece of linen. So he had it all folded up in his backpack for months and brought it back to me, which is very sweet. So I have that framed, and this room gets a lot of use. I love a round dining table. It really allows for better conversation. Everyone's included. I kind of need a bigger one, but here we are. Another balcony here, which is super sweet. It opens up completely, and then you can also go into the kitchen through a little tiny door on that side. And we're looking right over into an old avocado tree, which is so nice. It really feels like you're just tucked away in a tree house in here. So this piece is actually a friend of mine. She, when I was moving into this house, my friend has a lot of stuff just sitting in storage, and this is her grandmother's, and she couldn't stand that it was in storage, knew that I had the space for it, and so we just have sort of a agreement that it's going to sit here until she needs it one day. But it's really great. It's a beautiful piece, gets a lot of use. So I collect a good bit of china. I have all sorts. I love a pretty decorated table, and these are one of the newest additions from my mom. It's such a fun collection. They're very fancy on the outside, really ornate, and then they have this wild sort of Day of the Dead theme in the middle, and they're really fun. So I love to have dinners. I love to have formal dinners. When friends come over, they know it's like put on your best dress. So I dress it up. I've got vintage crystal that my mom gave me. I've got, china and things that I've collected along the way. So I really love to deck it out. Love flowers, candles, and everything. So it's really, art in itself. So this bench has kind of a catch-all of things. I've got a lot of family photos, people from both sides of the family, much older, grandmother shots, great-grandfather shots, and so on. And just things that I've collected along the way. I've got these daggers. I have this beautiful little toothpick holder that is Art Deco and super, super dainty. I love this so much. Yeah, and just things that I found along the way. And this right here is a kimono. It just felt like something that needs to be on the wall and not just hanging in a closet. So I did just that. It's so beautiful with all the colors and everything. So I treat it like a piece of art. Before we move into the kitchen, I'll point out these gates here. They were actually in when I bought the house, but I think that they're perfect. So I kept them there, especially for the dog when you're in the kitchen and busy. It's a wonderful little break instead of having a solid door. I entertain a lot. I love to cook. I love to have this house just absolutely jammed with friends. So this house is really great. It's not huge, but it does have a really big outside area. So from the living room, there are 2 pairs of French doors that open right into the courtyard. And so there's just flow that's super easy. I have dinner parties often. I do a dinner series in the courtyard because I really, really love the energy that happens when you have a lot of people milling about, conversation, music, and all that. So this is the kitchen, and instead of doing a, breakfast table, which is kind of what this would have called for, I have this enormous piece of furniture, which I got in Santa Fe actually, and it was just perfect for the space. So I use it as another kind of china cabinet and everything like that, because this kitchen does not have a lot of storage. So it's perfect for this wall, and honestly the only wall in the house it could have fit on. So there it is. And this photograph is like a paint bomb, which I bought ages ago and has come with me everywhere, but it has a lot of impact and people often ask me about it. It's really funny, but I do love it. It's fun. And then as for the rest of the kitchen, it's not original, unfortunately, although a lot of people think it is. One of the first things I did when I moved here, my mom came out to visit and we painted the kitchen. So all of the cabinets were just like 80s wood, and we painted it with this Pharaoh and Ball color, which is really nice, kind of made the space more handsome and felt a little bit fresher. The kitchen, despite my best efforts, is where everybody gathers. So it's a great space. I can't wait to renovate it one day. One day I'll do that. One of my favorite things about this kitchen though is where the sink is situated here with all these windows. It's just so nice. Again, feels like I'm up in the trees. I do have the original drawings of the house, and from what I can tell, this area behind me used to be like a breakfast room itself. So it was completely separate from the rest of the kitchen, which is so funny to me. But I love the layout of it. It's nice. These chandeliers are 20s French. I love them so much. I put these in most of the light fixtures in this house I've changed because they had been kind of updated here and there over time. So these were a beautiful pair, and they really add a lot of character to this space. So this kitchen, while it's not original, the tile countertop sort of lends itself to the time. There's debate on whether tile, stone, or even chopping block is a better surface for a kitchen. I really like the tile, especially because it is sort of true to the era. When I do eventually renovate this kitchen, I will do a tile for sure, just because it's just appropriate for the time. Something marble and terribly contemporary just wouldn't really feel right to me. So this kitchen is very much lacking in storage, and it's lacking in upper cabinetry, obviously. So I put these in, which is a great little easy solution for glassware in particular, because that's kind of what's being grabbed more than anything. Plus it helps fill out this wall in a way that makes sense. So I actually made this little skirt, and it is covering up the dishwasher, which I thought was, could be more attractive. So it was just really for fun in the beginning, but I've grown to love it, and the fabric itself fits so well in the space in terms of color and tone, so it stayed. And this kitchen is great because I cook a lot, and so when friends are over, they can sit over there, I'm over here, I've got everything kind of at the ready. This kitchen gets a lot of use. So I am very much ready to leave the open floor plan thing behind. I like having separate spaces. It feels more intimate when you're in the space. It feels like you can kind of tuck things away. For instance, if you're cooking, you can kind of leave the mess behind and go and enjoy yourself. So I like that this house feels like every room is a designated space, but at the same time, it is still somewhat open because it's arches. It's not, closed doors. So it kind of, and the way that the house is positioned gives you sort of both, if that makes sense. The original owners did a lot of renovation in the 80s and 90s. So what I've seen in the original drawings, which I'm very lucky to have, there are definitely some details that have gone away over the years. So something that we do still have that's original are the beams. Quintessential, Spanish home. The arches are all original. The footprint is original for sure. And there's one bathroom that is original to the 20s with all the tile and the tub and everything. So what I'm intending to do while here is bring a lot of the original era appropriate, tile, kitchen style, all that back to the house. So I'm doing that slowly. The fireplace is an example of that. It had been sponge painted gold when I moved into this house, and they'd even hidden the niche behind a painting. So I took the painting away, I painted the thing white, and I tiled it myself with Talavera tile just to kind of get that Spanish appropriate tile back in the mix because it had kind of all been erased. So the bedrooms are conveniently right off of the kitchen. This whole area is, bedrooms, bath, and so on. Come on in. So yeah, this is the only built-in left really in this house. This would have been very typical at the time because there wasn't a whole lot of storage and closet space. So these are old. I use them as a linen closet. It's very convenient and nice, and I would always keep something that's original if I can. So that's perfect. And then through here is the original bathroom from the 20s. So this bathroom, for the most part, is original. The tile, the tub, I think the sink even, and it's great. So I would keep it always, just because, you know, these places are fewer and further between these days. What this would have been is the shared bathroom between 2 bedrooms. And nowadays it's really not conducive to our modern lifestyle. But honestly, this bathroom isn't that big, so I wouldn't really do anything differently, and it would just kill me to interrupt anything original. So I'm just gonna keep it the way it is for now. So this is an original, I'm guessing, intercom of some sort. It says living room and chambers, which is funny. Gonna stay there as well because that's just so interesting. And over here are the 2 bedrooms. This is the one that is currently used as a bedroom. So yeah, this is my bedroom. It's a sweet little room. When I got the house, there was actually like a 80s closet that went across, and it had, you know, floor to ceiling mirrors on the door, sliding doors. So I took it out to give myself more space. The light in here is wonderful. I like a room to just be really minimal and peaceful and clean and quiet. So there's not much else in here other than sort of the necessities. So this painting I got at an estate sale in LA, and I got it for, you know, not very much money at all. And it turns out I did a lot of research into the artist by his last name, and it was a really interesting backstory. So I feel very grateful to have it in my space. And this Suzani fabric I got in Santa Fe, and I just have it draped over the headboard for now. It kind of moves around. It's a little pop of color and pattern that has had many lives. And this rug, gosh, I don't even remember where I got it from, but I like that it's, you know, flat weave, that it's very neutral, and I put this in by myself, which was insane. I moved the bed, I moved the rug. I cannot believe I did not injure myself, but man, when I put my mind to something, I will do it. And that was one of those things. But it's really, it works tonally. It just kind of gives a little excitement to the room. This home is really special because the area is very quiet, it's very peaceful. We're right up against Griffith Park, so there's a lot of nature. I feel like I'm just tucked away here. The indoor-outdoor element, I can just have all the windows and doors open, and it's just really peaceful, and it feels like it's, I mean, it is from a different time, and you can really feel that here. You know, walking into the courtyard, you could also be anywhere. You could be in Europe in a totally different time. So that's what I really love about it. It's the history and the flow, and it gets great light. And then my dressing room is next. So this is my dressing room, come in. Which is a bedroom, but for my purposes, since I'm here by myself and there's not a closet in the bedroom, I just converted this into a dressing room, which is pretty wonderful. And let's see, what do I have in here that's fun? This is one of my favorite. It's a vintage jacket from New Mexico that is real special. So this is one of my favorite pieces that I have in here. I have my dress up pieces because we need those here in Los Angeles. And then this piece I've had for so long. Again, the family friend who I worked for as an apprentice early on, she gave this to me when I first went away to school. So this has moved with me. It's been recovered a million times, and I think it is just so elegant, and I love it, and there's no better place for it to be than in a dressing room. I love decorating my own home because it's such a natural thing to do. However, the difference between me decorating my own home and decorating for a client is that it's never ending. It is a constant evolution. I'm always buying new things, fitting new stuff in. So it's not quite the same, and as a perfectionist, it will probably never be finished. But I do love it. I mean, I absolutely love collecting things on travels and just, you know, along the way. The word home to me is a sanctuary. It's where you feel safe. It's where you have sort of the story of you. It's the things you've collected, it's the things that you enjoy. To me, a home is an expression of the person.
Hey Homeworthy, it's Drew of Lone Fox. Welcome to my house in Los Angeles. Let me give you a tour around. Hi, my name is Drew Michael Scott of the YouTube channel Lone Fox, and this here is my living room, and I am an interior designer out of Los Angeles. I actually purchased a 1929 Spanish Revival duplex that I converted into a single family home. I live here with my roommate and really good friend Marie. We've actually lived together for almost 10 years now, and we will continue living together for probably another 10. My style is always changing. I really love trying out new things all the time, but I would definitely say that my style has a great mix of masculine and feminine. I love like the tension between the two, like super feminine, lacy and frilly, and then really like harsh and iron, and kind of that juxtaposition is something I love in my design. Starting off in my living room, this is actually the reason I purchased this home. And this is kind of the grand living room because there's actually two, since it is a duplex. There's one right underneath. And I love this room because it has a cathedral ceiling that features the original painting on the beams, and I just love that. And I definitely kept that in mind throughout the color use of this entire house, was keeping that beam coloring, the green, the red, and the orange. And in here, this fireplace over here actually had a mantle on it, but it was an added on mantle. So I removed the mantle and brought it back to its original state. I was able to tell that it was actually added on. And so when I did that, we ended up painting the entire room this kind of like, it's called Old White by Farrow and Ball. And it's just kind of like a milky color that resembles old plaster. And this room kind of is more of the period room to me, like period appropriate room, because it just features a lot of elements from the 1920s. I have these original Monterey chairs, and I love these. These are like my absolute favorite set of chairs in the entire home. I've really been into that kind of like Southwestern style lately, and these just have always fulfilled that love for me. And over here are some built-ins that I actually created. So this wall just used to be a big, huge empty wall. And this actually used to be a large window that the previous owners ended up removing and putting some old doors here. But I should say they weren't old doors, they're actually new doors, and I turned them into old doors. I actually found these, believe it or not, in Pasadena at an architectural salvage store, and they fit the door frame perfectly. So I just knew they were meant for this spot in the house. And around that, I built these built-ins and then reframed the entire built-ins. These are actually IKEA, and repainted them, added electrical, DIY'd the whole situation, which can be seen on my channel, and created this lovely little built-in focal wall, which is great because it's like the first thing you see when you walk into the space. And then moving right around here, I haven't even talked about any of the furniture yet. I have a bunch of really fun vintage pieces. I found this sofa from Pop-Up Home in Los Angeles. It's a vintage Italian 70s sofa, so mixing eras and time periods, but the color just works perfect in here. And this table here actually used to be a kitchen island, and I cut the legs off of it because it was just kind of an odd height. It kind of sat right about here, and I wanted to turn it into a coffee table, so cut it down about 20 inches or like 12 inches or so and turned it into the coffee table. On my first trip to Round Top, I got this new lamp, which is so cool. It's a German lamp. So again, just like mixing so many different pieces throughout the space. But we should definitely touch on this space, which is my office nook. And this is kind of where I have all of my samples. They're all throughout this entire table here. This is a vintage French farm table, and it has these really big drawers on the end, so I could put all of my fabric samples and swatches. So we lay them out on here when I'm working on a new project. It's kind of like the design room. I painted this room in olive green color, and I actually created this entire ceiling to resemble the one in the living room. So this was not here before. There was actually just these two beams here in the center, and then I worked off of those and created this like coffered ceiling just to tie it together. And I love this light. It's an old French cloche that has an iron base like rewrapped around it. And yeah, there's a little balcony out here as well, which is great. And this gallery wall here has a bunch of art that I love. I actually recently wrapped this frame in fabric. This is just like an IKEA frame, and I wrapped it along with the mat. And I'm gonna start doing that with so many of my frames because I think it looks so cool. But these are all just found from the flea market, some oil paintings. This one's a watercolor along with this one. And I just love art. It's all over my entire house. Old art just makes me very happy. So this room just gets a lot of design work done in it, which is great. And then working right out here, we're actually gonna head into the dining room. But look at this piece. This is a Lone Fox favorite on the channel. Like everyone absolutely loves this apothecary cabinet. It has a really great little edge. I mean, I love it too. That's why I picked it up. And I got it at Olive Atelier, which is one of my favorite places to shop in downtown Los Angeles. And this authentic, beautiful hand-carved stone bust it's honestly not. It's just like ceramic, but it's so cool. I love it. So let's head into the dining room. And we can't forget about this little area because this space I recently redid on my channel, and it used to have a door and was kind of like a little hall closet, but there was a window, and I thought, why not I just open it up? It's actually where I converted the space into a little doggy door for my new puppy Winston. And I added a counter up here, so it's kind of like our little entryway for the upstairs. I love the way that it looks, and I love that there's a window in there. It lets in a little bit more light. And then right around the corner is the dining room. So when I'm designing for myself or clients, I love looking at old design books actually for inspiration, because I feel like a lot of the images that you find in these old books are just not anywhere on the internet. I always flip through old design books. I go to bookstores and flip through them all the time, or I'll rent them or even buy them, because I really find a lot of inspo that way, and there's dedicated books to specific styles and time periods, so you can gain a lot of inspo. So I find a lot of my pieces on Facebook Marketplace, and the best way to build your Facebook Marketplace algorithm is honestly just to go on it like at least once a day and search some things of the style you're looking for. So like I found this, for example, on Facebook Marketplace. It's an iron chandelier. I got it for $100, but I had iron searched for lots of different materials in my house, and it finally showed me. I feel like the Facebook Marketplace algorithm truly is so great, and it just knows what you're looking for and shows you like items all the time. And I also love Facebook Marketplace for shopping because you find things you never know you needed. So you're gonna stumble across the most random stuff on your like For You section, and it's just a great place to shop and find affordable items. So here is the dining room, and this is probably one of the most used rooms for me in the house because I love just like sitting here and working on my computer, or when we have our little mini team meetings, we do them in this space. I lime washed this entire room with a color called Bistro by Portola, and it's just so warm and beautiful, especially when the sun sets. It sets through these windows over here. It looks great, and I have so many Facebook Marketplace finds in this room, believe it or not. We have the chandelier over here, the bookcase against this whole entire wall over here is Marketplace, the mirrors Marketplace, the lamps Marketplace, the busts Marketplace. So you guys, I just love using it because I just stumbled across this one day and I was like, I need that. So I picked it up, and I have just a bunch of favorite serving essentials over here, like these little dishes, candlesticks. I have these decorative plates on the wall. I love decorating with plates. And actually the focal of the entire room is this insane table that weighs over 1,000 pounds. And it had to be taken up here very carefully by some heavy lifting movers, and they were able to get it up here, which is great. So a few of my favorite features in this room, firstly, are the ceiling beams. They actually have the original painting on the beams, and believe it or not, there's these little scrolls painted on them. And when I had an appraiser come through and look at the light fixtures in the home, she let me know that these scrolls actually would have your initials put in them. So whoever painted this never painted their initials in them, or like the house got sold and the initials were never painted. So I'm ready to put LF in there for Lone Fox, of course. I just haven't done it yet, coming soon. And then I also love this popsicle stick lamp right right here. Found this on Marketplace. It's such a cool piece. It's called tramp art. Actually old art that was just created from like everyday random objects. And I love it. I think it's so cool, and just the use of material. And again, hanging plates on your wall. It's such a fun way to display decorative plates. It's like artwork, but the shapes are really nice because you really don't get that in frames, you know? So this looks really pretty. And yes, I just love the mix of materials throughout this entire space. It just feels really cozy. The sconces as well. Believe it or not, this wall, this used to be a wall right here. There used to be like an entire wall here, and I opened it up into this large archway to reveal our coffee bar, which is right over here and leading on into the kitchen. So here's a coffee bar area, and I have a few fun things to say about this. So the first thing is that this actually used to have cabinet doors on it. I just took them off because there was too many closed cabinets in this kitchen and turned it into this open shelving. And then throughout the entire kitchen, I actually had this Calcutta Monet that I hand-picked, hand-templated, put it all together, like made sure every vein was correct. And I was only gonna put it on this area, but I had quite a few remnants and I had enough to fill these uppers with it. So I also added it to the uppers. We painted this the color Van Buren Brown by Benjamin Moore. And this is a coffee bar. And something else kind of fun too is that this bread is actually foam. So it always looks like I have fresh bread here, but it's actually made of foam. So yes, this is a coffee bar, and I love this area. We make coffees here. It's a highly used section of the home, and that actually leads into the kitchen over here, which is a fun little galley kitchen, but I feel like I made the most of it, so let me share it with you. So this is the kitchen, which is actually the first space I transformed in this home, and you guys gotta pop up a photo of the original kitchen because it looked crazy. They just really stripped it of all of its character. This used to have the original like 1920s tile in it, which I don't know what looks like, sadly. However, the lower kitchen has the original, so it could have looked the same, but I ended up transforming it into a little bit more of a modern, updated kitchen, and I did plaster on the walls, which I literally plastered myself. These are the countertops that I templated because I wanted all the veining to like flow from this side over into this arch over here and transfer down. Like I was really particular. If I was spending money on this marble, I was going to use every inch of it. So I did that, created these shelves in the little like tops of the marble backsplashes, which I love. And then this was such a kind gift that Wayfair sent me when I did a great project with them where we made over a family's home, the entire house in 10 days. It was called 10-Day Transformation. So good. And I love this oven so much. And here's my range hood that people say looks like the front of a Jeep. And I always love to point that out because it actually really does. But I love that because I used to have a Jeep, so it kind of reminds me of it. And it's plastered, but I love it. It's like angled and it wasn't intentional, but it looks great. Through this archway is the breakfast nook, and this is such a cute little space. It actually has a fun table that I kind of put together. I pieced it together. This is actually a tabletop from Morocco. It's a liege tile, and I put it on top of a pot and then on top of a rock and just like glued them all together and created this table. And then I found these really great Alana Gore chairs on Facebook Marketplace, and they were a great, great, great deal. So I had to pick them up. They're like my dream chair for this home. I feel like they're just such a cool style, and these cafe curtains are actually Pottery Barn napkins, so a little life hack if you want to create some cafe curtains. I hung them on this like $6 rod from Lowe's and then hung up some curtains so I can like swap them out if I want to change the color or anything. I mean, just look how good they look. So I added those, and then these are some frames, and they're like an organic wood frame, but they actually have some art prints from when I did my collection with Desenio. There's like 15 different art prints you can get, and they're so cute. I love the dog, and I love the gingham. I use that one all the time. And the light fixture is actually another flea market find. It's like $45, and I added a cord cover from Pearson Ward, one of my favorite stores in Los Angeles. I love their items, and I just feel like it adds like a little cute touch, and I love the style of this. There's a lot of these little medallion motifs throughout the entire home, like on the original doors, so I wanted to continue that through lighting and wherever I was able to add it. This is a lovely piece of art that I found on Facebook Marketplace, of course, and I just like it in here. It looks so great, and we have to touch on the tile too. I know that's random, but it goes throughout the entire kitchen, but the tile really is like such a cool moment. I hand laid all of it, we grouted all of it, did this little soldier row, and there's like a fun transition in the laundry room area. But I love the way that it looks because it kind of feels outdoor, but it's inside, so that's a fun element. And it's really nice having the breakfast nook right by the dining room because we normally have like lots of stuff splayed out on the tables over here and then have our computers over here so we can like transfer back and forth, and we just have a lot of space up here to work around. So it's nice having both of them. But we are gonna head into the hallway because that's a really cool space and it has some red lacquered doors, which you need to see. So I feel like hallways are a pretty boring space normally because they're like the transition to every other space in your home, but I decided that I was going to make this space really fun, and I lacquered the doors. Well, I actually just high gloss painted them with Farrow & Ball's Eating Room Red paint, and it looks so great. And then on the walls in here is their paint in the color Cord. And then throughout the space, there's actually a skylight, which I don't know if is original or not. I still can't tell. I feel like it's not original, but I love it because it adds light to this area. And then there's built-ins right around the corner over here. I did some great molding on the floor and just added a bunch of random art throughout this space that I love. This is one of my favorite pieces. I got it with my mom back in our hometown at a little vintage store, and I was like, wow, I feel like this is a good one. So I had to pick that up. And yeah, this is the hallway. We're gonna head on into Marie's bedroom. So here we have Marie's bedroom. So designing the space for Marie compared to designing the space for myself, she honestly is really, really trusting and always open to the design ideas I have. So I always kind of give it like a base, like I do all the furniture and add styling and such to the space, but then of course she personalizes it with her own little touches. Like there's some of her own art on the walls here and here. Now this is a room that actually faces a neon red home. Like the house next to this home is painted bright red, and so it bounces this red light in here, and I took that into account when designing the space, that I wanted it to still look really pretty with the red light because I can't change that. And so I did it this kind of, it's called Warm Suede by Meoded, and I plastered it on the walls. We did 3 coats of plastered, sanded it down. It was like the most intensive wall application I've done, but I love the way that it looks like actual stone, and if you get up close to it, you can see like little flecks of like stone particles in it, which is fun. Then from there, I just added a bunch of elements that I thought would look great for Marie's space. I feel like this room has a nice good mix of like feminine and masculine elements. Like this light is super dainty and like glass, but then we have a dark wood desk over there that I feel like kind of juxtaposes that style a little bit. And a lot of the furniture in here is actually from Lulu in Georgia. I collaborated with them on this space, and I think that all the pieces look so great, and I love their items so much. They're such nice quality. This is my Bear brick, and I got this when I was in New York like 2 years ago, but it had Mona Lisa on it. I could not purchase this because it was just the coolest one I had seen, and her name's Mona. She just lives right here, and she's really cool. And yeah, I just love this room. I actually don't spend very much time in here because it's Marie's bedroom, but it is such a beautiful space. And why don't we head into her bathroom, which is just right down the hall. So here is Marie's bathroom, which you actually might recognize from Architectural Digest. I did this as a project for them, and it was like a 5-part social feature, which was super cool. And the reason that this project I think did so well was because this material on the walls is actually called concreta, and underneath this here is all tile. Like all the tile that they had in here before, which was not cute. It was like white subway tile. I went right over the top of it with plaster. Like, didn't have to do anything. The entire shower was all tile all the way up, went over it with plaster, did not have to tear it out, re-hot mop it all, like resurface it and then plaster it. Like, it's such a great step. It's such a great product, and it's by a brand called Meoted. A lot of the wall finishes in my house are. And I also found a bunch of Facebook Marketplace finds for this room too, like this vanity, which I painted this color, which I think is Aurora Brown from Benjamin Moore. And then I found the shield crest mirror on Facebook as well. And this great light here, it's like a Murano sconce. I got it at a shop called Panoply in Los Angeles. And there actually used to be a door right here. I even forgot about that. I covered up the door because it wasn't necessary. It led to the laundry room, and we have a laundry hutch on the other side now, and then towel storage on this side. So it's just a little bit more better flowing, and I love the way that this room turned out. Really created an impact for how small it is. And now I'm going to take you into my bedroom. So now we are in my bedroom, which is probably the actual room I spend the most time in. I love, and this is also the most recent space I've done, but I love it. It's turned out so great. We did like this really cool striped ceiling detail and added these pinstripes to the ceiling in navy, and then I painted the ceiling this kind of gold chartreusey green color. So my bed is from Crate & Barrel and Jake Arnold. This is such a great bed. It's mohair and it has like this really cool shape to the back of it. And then I actually got this bed cover from Olive Atelier. A bunch of the furniture in here is from Olive Atelier, like the wicker chase and the stool over there. And I actually found these lights, these pendant lights on Facebook Marketplace for $30. The lady just threw them in a box and sent them here. Like, they arrived in a box this big, and there's like 2 pendant lights in the box, but you get what you pay for, you know? So they were $35, and my nightstands are from CB2, a little vintage table over here just for the time being. I don't know what I want to add over here yet, so I just added this furniture piece. And we can't forget about this amazing TV cabinet, which actually has a little key that you open it with. This actually used to be like a mint green color, and I painted it to look like old wood. So you just open it up and my TV's inside. And then I actually have all my like dresser storage, like for my clothes underneath there. And then all my camera stuff, look at this, sneak peek is in here. Needs to be organized though, so don't look too close. And that's the cabinet. And this is the TV cabinet. I love it though. It's really substantial and takes up a lot of space. This little crest here is from a flea market. I found it. And then working our way over here, our last room that I'm gonna share with you is my little office nook, which I think is so cute. I love the way that the space turned out. So through this little archway off of my bedroom, this actually used to be like the dressing room of the primary bedroom. So there was cabinetry all here. It was like floor to ceiling cabinets that you would open. And I pulled them out because I just never used them in the year I lived here. And I actually turned it into this little office nook, which I use all the time now. I can just like sit here and edit my videos. This is where I edit all my content. I love it in here. It has like a window and the bathroom's right there if you gotta go, you know? So, I mean, it's a great space. I love working in here, and I actually paneled the entire room in hardwood floors that I got on sale at Floor & Decor because I wanted like a wood paneled space, and stripped the original built-in here down to like the wood, and then created this little skirt which hides all of my camera equipment, which is under here at the moment. But I think this is really cute. It's such an easy way to add hidden storage and a little bit of texture and pattern without having to like create doors or like figure out how to add them to a space. The piece of art here I love because it just has like a masculine energy to it, which I think is really cool. And then but I love how he has a little picture with tea. Like, it's so cute. And then the blues coordinate with the blue in the bathroom behind me, which is currently a work in progress, so we're not gonna go in there yet. Home to me is all about a space that you could be 100% yourself in, feel 100% yourself, but also really feel inspired in as well. And kind of, it's a collection of your life. You know, you can add trinkets and little additions as you travel or grow up throughout your years. So I feel like it's just like you in a space. Well, Homeworthy, it's been great having you. I hope you enjoyed my home tour, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hello, I'm Amanda.
Hello.
This is Liberty and Olive. Welcome to our home in Deia.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Amanda Pickett and I'm a decorator here in Mallorca. This is my house in Deia. We've been here for 2 years now, and we were looking for somewhere that had a space for a studio and that had character, and we found this place. It's absolutely lovely. It's got 3 stories and a little terrace on the top, which is really magical. We can see the sea, and everything about it's old and quirky, and we love it so much. It's oozing character, which is always what we like. In the 17th century or even earlier, there was no roads coming here. Basically took a long time to get here, so mostly they came by boat and came up, and there was fishermen living here, and a lot of these old cottages are from the early days then, before roads. I'm the daughter of antique restorers, and I'm constantly surrounded by antiques, and it's my life and the way I live. So we've brought in a lot of things from Scotland and from around the world that necessarily you might not find here, but also a lot of it's come from here. So we make fabric that's made on the island, and we have more things. A lot of people in Mallorca tend to be a bit minimalist, and we're more maximalist, and we're more niche, you know, we're very niche with what we do. You know, not everybody quite probably likes it or gets it, but it's more refreshing to have something different, or everybody with something a little bit different, but definitely recognizable as being Pickett's house. Nothing is perfect, everything's a little bit damaged. I think that's because my parents were restorers and everything was perfect for them. For me, I like a little bit of faded grandeur, or I like something that's not quite perfect, or the outside isn't upholstered and you know, it's just thrown together. It seems it's evolved. It's like you've been around the world and brought something from everywhere. So this is the living room. This is basically where we chill out and sit around and watch movies and things like that, and it's full of quirky pieces. This is an old basket that we got from the market here in Mallorca, which happens every Sunday, which we love. And we have the day bed, which is French, and it's absolutely, you know, the best piece of furniture just for relaxing. Everybody fits on. We're a big family, so it's really a great space. And rather than a sofa, because we are limited, it's quite a small proportioned property, so it's quite nooks and crannies, and everything is got to work, because there's no space for anything that doesn't work. And we have, this is the picket stripe that we're developed and that we've designed and remade. Basically, it's an old, really old pattern, which is made on the island. It's a French bed, and I guess once upon a time there would have been two the same. And we found it, and the guy that had it said, nobody has looked at that for 20 years, and you're the first person. So it was a real joy for us. It's a real statement place to have it. As soon as you come in, we lie here and watch the people come and go and walk down and walk past, and you just listen to the sounds of people walking. It's really relaxing place to be. The canopy is probably from a church. I think that the carving suggests that it's from a church, and it's nothing to do with the bed itself, but looks perfect up there with the stripe. And the coffee table is a Chinese style. It's great with the cloud detail. I always like Oriental style mixed with European. And this is a Spanish elephant, which is more like some of the English ones, but much nicer to be this kind of buff yellow. These are all firing cracks that happened when they fired it. So it's not broken at all, but it does have the cracks, which I like. And this is an Irish mirror that we brought from the UK that we've had for a long time, that I really love them. And I mean, lots of people would restore the whole thing and have all the cabochons restored, but for me, I quite like the fact that it's imperfect. And a little hat that belonged to my children, but it's come from Tibet, and it's to ward off evil spirits. So it's all children had little hats like this, and it would have had a tail at some point, which is lost, sadly. But it's a family heirloom, something I really love. So we have a pair of these, and they're actually Irish stools. We covered them in the picket stripe, which is just a little bit fun. And they're stamped with the maker's mark and everything underneath. This is not original barber's pole, but basically that's what it is. It's a bit of our Oliver Twist side. I believe that things should be, everything the same to me can be a little bit boring. I mean, sometimes when you have an antique, finding the same thing is absolutely impossible. And I've tried it before when I've sold something and I felt, oh no, it's gone. And then you try to find something similar, but it's absolutely impossible. So we like everything to be a little bit, everything's unique. Nothing is, mass made. And this mirror is, I'm kind of not quite sure if it's Flemish or if it's Spanish, but it's got elements of Regency and the claw feet, which is a nice touch. And then we have the French sofa that I'm also not sure if it's English or French, but it's certainly French style. But I did buy it in England, and the casters make me think that it's probably an English sofa. Myself and my daughter, we painted these basically because we wanted to lift the ceiling because of the beams. Everything seems to be quite low with the ceilings, and this painting of the leaves really helped lift the height, other than painting the beams, which is sort of kind of sacrilege to paint the beams, or some people might think so. So we kept it traditional Spanish, but with the painted little bits and bobs here and there. The beams, mostly the beams are original, but some of them have been replaced over time. But it's really Spanish to have the wood exposed rather than painted, which is much more English or American to have painted beams, which I like, but we chose to keep the beams. And the lanterns are Mallorquin. They make lots of lanterns here. So you find the star ones like you would find in Morocco, but they made them here. So that's quite nice. There's a lot of lanterns. The bird cages are something that my daughter wanted to hang. And she helps me a lot, and she does things that I wouldn't do. She does things that are sort of a little bit more trendy or fun in her eyes. So I quite like that. This painted cupboard, I don't really know where it comes from. I'm not quite sure about the origin. It's possibly Bavarian or it's maybe French. But we got it from a friend of ours, and that happens quite a lot, that people say, can you take some of, do you want this, you know, do you want my old stuff? And I always, if it's something like this, you know, I really love things like that. So the doors are really traditional Mallorquin doors. Most houses have them. We really love the shape, and we just wanted to make this awning, which is really rustic and brightens the whole place up when you enter, and also keeps the sun off the doorstep. I've basically, since I was about 8 years old, I've been selling antiques in my mum and dad's shop. They had a shop, and I would take things there and put them on the shelf, and then some of the antique dealers would buy things from me. So I guess it was inside, and I also used to draw antique furniture from the books, and at, you know, 10, 11, and it's quite a strange obsession, and that's probably deeply inherent in me, that I need to be around these things. And sometimes when I haven't managed to go and buy things, I feel it, you know, it's a real part of the way I am as a human being. Pickett's house was on the main street in Deia, and it was a beautiful, lovely place to have a store. It was an antique store, but I found that it was something that I didn't really need to have and be there every day. It was much more productive to have somewhere for the family as well, where my children can be safe and I can work in my studio. So we decided to come down here into a quiet part of the village where we can be safe. The children and the dogs are here, and we work and eat and live all in the same place. So it really works for us as a family to be on site. Follow me, and I'll take you through to the fire snug area. So this is really, really traditional Mallorquin, to have this little area that everybody sits here in the winter and sits around the fire, and it's like, it's just the coziest place to be, but really intimate and really lovely. So this is, we have to watch our heads because it's very low. Everybody's got to be small. And then we did this scalloping with the leather just to take away, I mean, it's with the shells and everything, just to sort of keep it fisherman cottage, and this to hide the brown, because you don't want to paint all brown bits and bobs and wood. I've got a thing for these deity figures, these little guys that they're, you know, probably 15th century, you know, they're Ming and that sort of era. And I've just had a lot over the past, 20 years. And they're always something I find I get really attached to. They all have their little characters, and they were originally made by the family, and they're the ancestors of the family, and they would put their prayers in the back of them. And they have a little thing to put the prayers in the back. So I really love them. Some Chinese porcelain, which I love as well, and bits and bobs, things like this mammoth tooth, which is such a, to me, it's astounding. I don't even understand how that is actually a tooth, but that's a crazy thing. I love shells, and Chinese porcelain is a thing that I really love, and we don't see so much of it here, but we get lots in Scotland, so anytime I go back, I bring something back. I bought this, and it's one of the nicest curtains I've ever bought, which is really old, really thin chintz. It's probably French, and it's all sort of hand printed. I couldn't actually believe my eyes when I bought this, because I thought that it was such a bargain, and I thought it must be modern, but I couldn't believe that it's actually not, and it's, you know, it's beautifully aged and it's in really good condition. And these are just simple stripe curtains that we just made just to fit the space. This, I believe, is English, although I bought it here, which is a really lovely piece of treen, as they call it. And it's a little stand, or a miniature of a table. And they probably used to go around with these and say, this is how we can make a table, and then people would commission a table to be made like that. So I love that. The old boots that were a gift from my mum, She used to have them in her house, and then another deity figure. And the Howard and Sons wingback, which is another Isle of Wight thing, is covered in the replica Howard and Sons ticking. This is a Spanish lantern made from zinc. Absolutely, really heavy and stamped. It's Barcelona, probably around the Gaudi time. It's one of my most Spanish things that I actually have, which we really love. And at night time, it lets out the light, makes these patterns on the wall, which is really lovely. This is another thing that I got from my mother, and it's the most amazing cutout felt work with silk threads, 18th century, beautiful, amazing workmanship, so in-depth detail. Every single piece has been cut out and sewed on. It's not even, you know, applique, it's a much finer workmanship. Everything we have changes places. So this used to be on the wall, and it's like, it kind of hangs like a tapestry or something, you know, you could throw it on a bed. I've had it on beds before, but it's much too fragile to actually let people sleep with it. This Ottoman silk costume, which is reputed to be from Osborne House in the Isle of Wight, which I absolutely adore. We did the doors for fun. It's not probably something I would do in anybody else's house. It was just that I felt like it really worked here. But it's not perfect by any shape or form, but it's really, it adds a little bit of happiness in the morning when you come down. I absolutely throw everything together. It's something that evolves. Things actually speak to each other, and then you didn't realize until you move them. And sometimes I'll move things, and then to everybody's disappointment, I'll say, let's move everything back and put it how it was. And everyone's like, really? We've just moved everything and now you want to put it back how it was? So you never know until you start playing around with things and moving things. Sometimes I'll even declutter, which some people might not realize, but a lot of times I put things away that might not, you know, and I sometimes do think, oh, it's too much. But everything seems to work together and they all speak to each other, and it's fun. So, welcome to the Scottish room. We call it the Scottish room because of this bed, which we brought from Scotland, which was one of our first beds that we ever bought in Scotland, in St Andrews, in an auction. And it's gone everywhere with us. It's absolutely part of our family now, with the original silk headboard, which for me, you know, some people might change it because it's got a little bit old, but because it's the original silk, I don't want to change it. And these are batik cushions, which I used to have so many. But now it's just these two. I love batik, blue, indigo. This is a little meditation chair. It folds up and you can carry it around. I think that's the point, you know. So if you take the base and then it tucks into itself, so it's basically just a panel, and then they carry it around and meditate. That's the idea, which it looks really great with books on it or anything. This is a very English Ottoman stool, which has a little bit of storage inside, which, I mean, they're so typical and traditional in the UK that I love them. They're so handy. And this is an oriental lacquered screen, which is vintage. It's a little bit more vintage than I usually go for, much more antique, but I do love this and the colours it brings into the room. And this is a Scottish hall chair, also an early purchase of mine. And scumbled, which is super traditional Scottish. And then these console tables, which are based on Chinese export stands. I made them instead of bedside cabinets so that they have a position. This is a bucket that we brought from Scotland that we've had for a long time. It's not from Scotland, it's probably Ethiopian. And it's a rice level, and they would level off, but ceremonial. And it's made from one piece of wood, which was dug out. And and somehow it would hang, and then they would scoop the rice and level it out. And the base is bronze and it's chased, which is a really, you know, must have been a very special bucket to have this detail. So this is a Balinese hat that we just used to, because some of the light switches and light positioning is maybe not where you would put it, but so we did that just to make a decorative touch. So they're original tiles that lots of places had them, really traditional, but we love them. So this house, every room is on a different level. Every level is a different room, you know. So basically nothing really is on the same level other than the living room and the fireplace area. Everything else is staggered. So now I'll show you upstairs to the next level. So this is the Moorish room that we call, with the twin room. This is Mallorquin silk linen mix that a guy in Palma, his father, he had a business and he made it, and then the son took over and made fabric. This canopy came from a house in Deia, another house of a friend, and she thought it was for putting out the windows when there was fiestas. And I thought, no, it really is a bed canopy. And then we put it up and it just looks so fun. It's kind of floating, but I love the edges, and it sort of puts me in mind of Venice or something, you know, it's like a gondola or something. And then we have, this is probably why the reason the room, we call it the Moorish room, is because of this lady dressed up in the Moorish clothes. We have this old fabric that I really love that I made into these lampshades. They're another thing that's perfect but not perfect. So we have these twin beds. We made twin headboards out of the local fabric. A little bit of gingham again, which I really love, but just makes me feel it's so provincial and homely. And then these cushions that were made from typical traditional Mallorquin skirts. And this was the base of the skirt, and we made them into cushions because I just loved the fabric. But the skirt wasn't practical anymore. I made the lamps to sort of go with the style, and it's a little bit Regency style, and the lampshades I also made. We did this with the wardrobe to, for me, anything old wood now sort of can be a bit of a sucker of light, so we did this just to be a bit of fun, to hide it. This is one of my favourite things. This is a decoupage trunk, which is in the George II style. It's English, but just so faded and imperfect. I absolutely love this style of furniture. These chairs are from England, and they've been this one's been repainted, and the other one hasn't been repainted. But I just love the red, the splash of red. And this one's much more aged and more original. These floors again are original, and they have a board, you know, they're really something really special. It's been thought about. This room is crazy as well because it has a big bow in the room. So where the bed is, you can't notice it now, but with age, it's moved, and there is a shape to the floor. This is Gilbert. He's going to come upstairs to the studio. Come on then, Gilbert. Come on. Gilbert. So this is where I work. This is where you'll find me. I'm here. I have like so many fabrics. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I have to tidy them away and start again, but then it piles up. Again, we have the Mallorquin tiles, which I really love these ones. They're really sweet. This is my desk. This is a box. This is the most important thing that I probably own, which is a jewelry box, and it's bullwork, probably by a really famous guy that the work is named after, and he's called Andreas Charles Bull, and he was prolific in France. And this is all ormolu mounted, really special, and the size, you know, it's such a big box. And then we have the Declomania lamp, which I still have to wire. I have to get Gary to wire it up, but soon I will do that. And this is a bed, a Mallorquin bed, which is amazing still to see it with all the original paintwork still really intact, which is lovely, and I really love it. These are some artworks. There's a pair, and this one, they're by my friend Magnus Reid, who's an Australian artist. Mirrors are something that I absolutely love. I might have too many, so I don't really know where I put them. I just have them, and eventually they have been put, you know, they've been in the living room, they've been in other bedrooms, and now they're here. So, and then eventually I'll find somewhere else to put them. But this is a really special one that came from a major, and he was called Major Tiger, and he had this. And it came from the sale of the contents of his house, and I really love it. I have millions of different bits of fabric that I've collected over the years. This is just some, this is hardly any of it. And we have bits of this Laura Ashley edging that I had a whole roll of it, but I've used it on projects, and I really love the Greek key. Some silks that are made on the island, some benison fabrics left over from projects, some amazing Mallorquin fabrics that they used to make in Soyer in the 19th century. So we have this oriental screen, which is Chinese export, probably for the English market, although it has an African theme. But the lions are, every stitch is silk, and he is the man, and here's the female, and the two panels, sadly the other two panels were so badly distressed that this was the only surviving pieces. But I love the character and everything about it. It's also been hung in many different rooms, and he's, because I'm a Leo, we're both, me and Gary, my husband, we're both Leos, so we're the lions. So that's why we've never sold it. I love it so much. And this is more silk that comes from the island, which is from Bahosa, and it's really thick, lovely silk. And then the stripe, which is Swedish stripe, and the yellow and blue I just love. It's a bit of fun. And this lantern has come from Morocco, as I mentioned before. This is basically where me and Gary sleep when we're here. And it's mostly for chilling out, or if we've gone out and friends come and stay here, they'll stay here. And we have this, which is a big canopy, which is totally made from indigo linen. Lots of people think, oh, I'd love to use that fabric and cut it up, but I could never do that. It's very reminiscent of Japanese, although it's Mallorquin. So, welcome. This is the little area where the kids have decided to paint on the walls, and it's a real family sharing zone, where we have this ottoman with the antique linen and the bahosa from Mallorca. We painted decoration again because it's such a small space. It really invited something else to decorate it. We couldn't use too much furniture or fabric. And then we did these little curtains, which I love, keep the insects out in the summer, and they're just really fun. And then if you come out here, we have the roof terrace, which is one of my favorite parts of the house. This is where we chill out most of the time. We have the view of the church and the mountains, and my good friend lives up there on the mountain, so that makes me happy every day I come out here. I imagine him probably seeing me down here. This textile's from Iran, it's block print, and I just love everything about these block prints. This is not that old. Sometimes we have old ones. And this little table with the elephants. Sadly, he's lost some of his tusks. There's 3 elephants on it, but I love that. And then the old olive pot, which is probably around about 300 years old. It doesn't stand up, it's lying down, but I like that it lies down, it's fun. And then we got these chairs, which are so practical because you can move them anywhere, you know. It's just really nice spot to have a sit down and a glass of wine. So we have 2 of these benches. They're hall benches, and I really love the style of the sort of, it's quite churchy, but it's kind of Tudor England style. I really like them, but they're just practical for people to sit here because we don't have a lot of space for 2 sun loungers. So we come up here and some people sit and some people lie, or lucky person gets to lie down. So at night time, here's the church in Deia, and that will be lit up in the evening. It's really lovely. We hear the bells and all the hustle. If anybody's up there near the church, you can hear them. It's really like an eardrum in Deia. You hear voices and laughter. It's really a lovely place to sit. And then we come over here where we have our own window to the sea. And I like to imagine that the family of the fishermen would wait here for the boats to come home. In Mallorca, they used to have these things on beds, and we would have full-sized ones of these, and they're basically mosquito nets. And this is not the original length. It would have went down probably 2 meters, and it would be a mosquito net. And I found about 10 of them in my time living here, but I sadly can't find any more. And being an antique dealer, I always sold them, and this is one of the only. I have a couple of other ones that are slightly different, but this is the only one I have left that's like this. So we come up here with our coffees and our lunch. The children will come up and paint pictures, and we'll sit around. Sometimes we'll play some music and enjoy the outside atmosphere. Deia's got a real American English influence from back in the 60s and the 70s. A real artist sort of town with lots of hippies. Everybody swears by going to the sea every day and swimming in the water and then coming back up, and the buzz of the village is, I mean, I think it's changed a lot, but it's an absolutely lovely place to come and visit. Lots of old stories, and people know all the stories of all the people that lived here before. Lots of old musicians and artists and bohemians, really. I'm going to show you our kitchen from outside. This is how we come in. This is where our washing machine and everything is in here, which is super handy not to have it in the kitchen. And then we go in here, and it's so small and underground. It's so atmospheric in here. It's not your average kitchen. And we have these kind of ornaments and these paintings by Magnus Reed again. I absolutely love them. This old clock that somebody had thrown away. This is our friend, and I've moved it up here because everybody used to walk into the fist. And so I put it up high. It's definitely not a kitchen thing, but I love it. It's probably came from a church and it's an angel, but for me it's much more sculptural and really well carved, so I really like it. So these are chairs that I brought from the UK. They're old friends, as we say, but I really love them. Each piece has been carved to be that shape, to simulate bamboo, and they're 18th century. Really nice. There's a set of 4. One is upstairs at the moment, but there's 4. And this one is a Scottish one, which goes very well. There's 2 of those. And this chair is Mallorquin and very wonky, but I love it. Absolutely love chairs. I love this chair. So artistic, sort of, I don't know, there's something nice about it, but very wonky, so I wouldn't sit on it if I was you. We've done Halloween parties and birthday parties for our friends, and everybody gathers outside on the street, which is really quirky. It's a Deia thing, and everybody sits on the street, which is, they never want to sit inside. Nobody ever wants to sit inside, which is a really Deia style thing. I think a house becomes a home when you start to introduce your things that you love. For me, my antique furniture that we've brought from everywhere really makes it a home. Things that we're attached to that we've brought from Scotland, we've got things that we've brought from England, things from Morocco, from our holidays when we were younger, and we used to go to Morocco and come back with boxes full of stuff. It's just a love for your things, and that makes it a home.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Lewis. Thank you so much for coming to my home in West Palm Beach. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Lewis Miller. I am a floral and event designer with offices in New York and West Palm Beach, and today we are at my home in West Palm Beach. I bought this home in 2021. It's a 1925 Spanish Mediterranean house. It was love at first sight. Honestly, I bought it sight unseen and came down and loved it even more. So then spent the next 6 months to a year really gutting it and doing a lot of cosmetic changes to make it feel like home. Buying this place sight unseen was a little nerve-wracking, but I had looked at so many properties, and what I loved instantly about this property was that the bones were all there. It was a great little size, it was a manageable size. It was kind of a blank slate, to be perfectly honest. It was in great condition. I had to do a few, minor adjustments to the foundations and the roof, but then it was really about coming in and having lots of fun with wallpaper and color and tile and pattern and furniture. Now, the realtor I was with, they were very dubious. They thought I was kind of making a mistake because they couldn't see it. They have since changed their mind. But just walking in and being able to see the light, see the space, see the proportions, see the flow, see how it was a very small house, but it didn't have a lot of wasted space. There were some areas we had to blast through some walls to enlarge some spaces and to connect rooms, but it really was just like, wow, this is amazing. Glad I bought it. No regrets. My kind of decor idea for this place was that I really wanted it to not feel like typical Palm Beach, which can be a lot of blue and white, or it can be very pink and preppy and green. I wanted this to feel like Hemingway, old Florida, like Florida before air conditioning. So really unusual colors like dark teals and mustards and greens and tobacco browns, a lot of antiques, hand-painted floors, using a lot of pattern and natural elements so that it felt very Floridian, but at the same time it was very masculine. It was kind of edgy and didn't feel too expected and had a very warm, sort of curated look about it that just felt like things that I'd collected over, centuries if I were that old, but found objects. Welcome to the entryway, the foyer, the Florida room of this house. So when I bought this house, this was one long room that had a very small doorway here and no other opening. Originally, this was a screened-in porch. So what's amazing about this room is that it has so much natural light flow in. My original inspiration and my hope was to have this whole room paneled in antique Pecky cypress wood panels, but that is so exorbitantly expensive that we had to settle for wallpaper, but I think it was not much of a settle because I'm really excited. We found this faux bois wallpaper by Martin Lawrence Bulliard, which is a beautiful mustard color. And this fell right into the color scheme I wanted in this house. I really want to embrace these sort of deep, old Florida colors, but unusual colors. So you're going to get turquoises and blues and peach and mustard all in one room. This Kaleem I actually found on Cherish. It ties all the colors in. This amazing bench I brought from my house upstate, covered in a Carolina Irving fabric. My two prized possessions are these little lamps here. These are Madeleine Castaigne lamps that I bought in Paris 2.5 years ago, and they're in perfect condition. I love how the bright turquoisey, tealy blue goes against the mustard. And then of course at the end here, it's Florida, it's an entryway. We have this fun rattan bar. So I like having some of these nods to Florida and Palm Beach, like the rattan and the caning, without going too heavy into it. It's a great little room all by itself. When guests come, a lot of people, we just have a hard time actually getting them out of this room and into the rest of the house. This room is quite narrow, and it was a little bit perplexing, like how do you actually furnish a room like this? Because it's really not wide enough for big furniture, so that's why we chose to have this bar at the end of the room, which is adjacent to the dining room, so that works perfectly. I wanted a console here so that I can have lamps, have lighting, have a place to put keys, dog leashes and stuff, and then the bench was a natural choice because you sit down, you put your shoes on, you put packages there. So while this room is narrow, it's very functional, and it's kind of broken down into three little individual spaces in one cohesive space. One thing I want to point out, the door, again, I really wanted a very expensive antique door. They just weren't available. So I found this amazing faux painter down here who did all of this wood paneling. This is all painted on. So this is hand painted, faux painted. The floors were stripped down, so they're just a pickled Florida pine. And then this leads right into the living room, which originally this had a very narrow door, but I opened this up so that this room has much more light. Come on with me to the living room and let me show you this space. This living room was originally the dining room. For some reason, it's the biggest room in the house, so I'm not sure why. And there was actually a door that connected to the kitchen there. We closed in this door, we made this door larger, and we put in all the bookcases so that it's surrounded by books. It's a library, living room, it's very cozy. The walls are painted this deep, intense, tealy green blue. The floors have been hand painted by Mary Mead from Atlanta. They're done in this geometrical tobacco stained pattern with the natural rush rug. These two chairs here I found locally. They're antique French armchairs, club chairs, so I love them because they're a little tattered, they're a little worn. The dogs love them. This sofa here, it's a down sofa. The dogs love it, as you can see. This is from Howell, London, one of my very favorite furniture makers on Pimlico Road. And then this bird prints I found in Paris at Stéphane Olivier Antiques, and that added just the right touch because it feels very Floridian, but it's sort of saturated, it's antique, it's vintage. It works great with the colors in here. I love having plants in here, whether they're bromeliads or unusual specimen orchids. And again, like a little bit of flowers every now and then, like these sweet peas. We have a cute little window seat over here that is covered in this hydrangea print with that matches the shades, and the wall sconces all have rattan shades. This is a great room, so I can't imagine it being a dining room. It makes for a very cozy living space, and we love it. And it's also really pretty at night when you're walking down the sidewalk because you can see through the Florida room and you can see the bird prints on the wall. This desk is a vintage bamboo desk. Again, it's from a local antique dealer. It brings in some of that old Hemingway feeling, but there's a cute little detail I want to show you over here, and there's a couple throughout the house. So the guy who painted my front door, I wanted these little surprises. So this is the dead butterfly on the windowsill. So every once in a while, you'll get cute little moments of folly like that that are there for no other reason than to just, make you smile. While this room is directly off the Florida room, the line of sight from here looks over the front yard and the street, but this is, again, was important that the furniture in this Florida room didn't look cluttered or that it actually made some sense. So sitting in this room, you see the bench, you see the curtains, and it actually does feel like an extension of the living room. Same thing when we get to the dining room, the bar feels like an extension of the dining room. So I've always been in love with the natural world. As a child, I grew up in gardens. I come from a family of gardeners. I've always loved flowers. I experimented very early on how flowers can change the dynamic of a room. I went to school for horticulture and landscape design, loved it. My attention span was a little too short for watching gardens grow, and I fell into the whole floral event design business, which was so perfect for my personality because you can really create a whole space, create a look, and it's all over at midnight. So I started doing this at a very young age. I started my business, Lewis Miller Design, in 2002. And yeah, focused primarily on creating beautiful special events for clients, some corporate stuff. And I have recently opened an office, actually it's 3 years now, in West Palm Beach. So I straddle my time between West Palm and New York City. Flower Flash started in 2016, though the idea had been percolating in my mind for quite a few years prior to that. Now I create weddings and parties and beautiful sort of private homes and hotels, and I've always loved the juxtaposition of flowers and nature and city and the dichotomy and the democratic nature of New York City. And to that point, I was like, I wish there was a way that I could bring flowers to sort of my everyday New Yorkers. It's great that my clients get to see this and experience this, but the people who actually really need this joy in their life are people like you and me who get up every morning, go to work, and kind of get through the day. So at that point in my career, things were going well. I was like, there's gotta be a way to give back. So the first Flower Flash happened in 2016. It was literally taking leftover flowers and doing sort of a pop-up street art installation with them for the sole purpose of nothing other than bringing a smile to somebody's face, that they could experience it, they could take a picture, that they could take a flower, and just kind of be a surprise in the middle of New York City. So welcome to my dining room. This room in the house was originally the living room. It has the fireplace here, and this wall was completely closed off. So one of the best things we did immediately was to open this up. This allowed all this natural sunlight to come streaming into the dining room. And you can see it connects to the floor of the room. We have our bar there, so this really feels like a natural extension of the dining room. This room is one of my favorite rooms as well. There's something about it that just feels, I don't know, almost like things were collected from a pirate ship or something. Two of the most important things in this room that really ground the space are these two antique 17th century caryatids. They're Italian. I bought them from a dealer down here, an auction house down here in West Palm. And I paid a fortune for them, knowing that I could sell them tomorrow for twice as much. I actually got a pretty good deal on them. They're incredible. So I actually had them wired to be lamps so that they will light up. They look beautiful at night. They flank the archway here. We then come in, I've got the dining table, which is a pickled oak dining table surrounded by vintage French Louis Sagnot rattan chairs. Louis Sagnot rattan is, I love it, and I have a lot of it in the house. The wall sconces are also that. It's a little less typical when it comes to rattan for Palm Beach. It's from the 50s and 40s. It's French. It has a little bit more style, I think. So we pulled in the same yellow in the cushions here. This is the same fabric that is in the window shades and the window seat cover in the living room. We had this fireplace here that we inherited and could not find an antique fireplace surround that fit right or was somewhat affordable, so we kept this and had the faux painter do very exaggerated faux bois wood on this in this kind of rich mustard color, and then this amazing tile, tobacco stained Portuguese tile, which picks up the floor pattern. The walls are wallpapered. I use a lot of wallpaper in the house. We actually turned the pattern sideways for this wallpaper so that it felt more like a basket weave as opposed to going up and down. We thought it looked a little dizzying, so I actually prefer it this way because it has this kind of tendency to look like a basket weave. And then trimmed everything in this room out in the same green blue that the library living room is painted in. This pink chest is a piece I've had for years. I love, love, love the color. It's an early American blanket chest. I think the peach against the mustard, the blue-green, and the browns is really amazing. It has this old captain's lamp on it. This thing stays on 24/7, so there's always a nightlight in here. And then on this wall, I have this big crane print. When you have a big wall like this, it's hard to figure out what to put on a space like this, and I didn't want a lot of little things since I already had the birds over the sofa. I didn't want everything to be a bunch of small prints, so I found this locally. It's not an old piece, but it's got this nice saturated tobacco stained look to it of the herons. When it comes to doing flowers for my home, I honestly don't take a lot of chances or experiment because I have things set the way I like, and I want the flowers to not be center stage. They're really just to accent it and give it a little breath of life. So I love pottery, I love vessels. Traditionally, I'll have a beautiful pitcher or some pottery on a coffee table that without flowers, it looks great by itself. But then if I just want to throw a handful of ranunculus or tulips in it, great. Suddenly I have flowers. It doesn't take a lot of thinking. And it's just a nice, I think in general, a nice way to live with flowers, you know, working with the colors of the room so that, you know, you can pick up an obscure color in the room and focus the flower color on that. So they feel bold and they complement the art and the upholstery, but it doesn't feel like you overthought it or overdid it, which I think is crucial. On the dining table, I have always loved majolica, and these are majolica begonia leaves. So they are sitting on the table. I love the colors. They really bring in the colors of the entire house, actually. And then this rattan basket I bought from Soane in London and just stuff it full of tillandsias and bromeliads, stuff that would naturally grow outside and look very at home in Florida. So this room is fun for entertaining because I hosted Thanksgiving here, I've done dinner parties here, I have a lot of beautiful china and placemats and linens, so it's really great to set this table up. You know, I'm usually a little sparing on the flowers because the table fills up very quickly, so I'll just do some small bud vases, but a lot of candles, but it really becomes about the color of the plates and the china and the linens and how it all works in this room. One little thing I want to show, another little detail here, we have a little mouse that was hand painted there in the corner. He's peeking out of his mouse hole. That's by the same artist who painted the fireplace and the butterfly. And the last thing here is our trompe l'oeil $50 bill on the corner of the bar. So this is very realistic. That's actually hand painted. It's not decoupaged, and it looks like somebody dropped some money, and it's just there for kids to look at and try to reclaim. So this room has a lot of patterns, but I love that because it's got a lot of energy, but nothing is very, very strong. I mean, the fireplace is pretty strong, but you know, I don't know. I think with the fact that it's all outlined in a very strong color, we kept the shade pattern to be a little bit more discreet, and it's more about the color scheme really working and that everything has some space and it's not terribly crammed up against each other, so it feels natural. It works with the natural fiber of the bamboo. You have the views into the other rooms that help it all make aesthetic sense. Okay, welcome to the family room. So this is where we spend most of our evenings. It's right off the kitchen. This room is a very cozy room. We started by wallpapering the entire room in a natural seagrass fabric. The color scheme for this room was really informed by the drapes, this beautiful hollyhock pattern that's got the same blue, greens, and yellows and browns in it. The yellow rug pulls the yellow in, the sofa, the chairs. I've got some antique botanicals here that are Florida native plants. So this again is homage to my love of flowers, but also the flora and the fauna of the surrounding area. So there's a lot of birds in this house. This is an English diorama of owls and pheasants that I got in the Hamptons probably 10 years ago, and I've been looking for the perfect place for it, and there it sits. The dogs love this space because every piece of furniture is down cushion, so it's impossible to keep them fluffed, but they're very comfortable. I have an antique Swedish cabinet here. This is one of my favorite pieces. It's very strong geometrical lines. And that's what's nice about this room is it leads directly into the powder room, which has this super fun crane wallpaper so you get that view of the birds at the same time. This room does feel a little bit more calm. The dining room, has a lot more pattern going on. This to me is kind of Florida meets English countryside. So there is a lot of English pieces in this room, from the sofa to the chairs to the fabric lampshades. The fabric's English, the bird diorama is English. So this is kind of my comfortable space that is a nod to my love of all things England. And we wanted to have this be more of a relaxing room, because we've got the living room, which was much more intense. We've got the dining room, which acts as a passageway between all the other rooms, which is much more vibrant with pattern and color. And then we have this, which is just much more calm and relaxed. But what's nice about this room is that it leads into the kitchen, and you can see into the kitchen from this room, which is a completely different story altogether. Let's head into one of my very favorite rooms in the house, my kitchen. So what do I love most about this home? It's quiet, unlike my New York apartment. We sleep really well here. I really love the kitchen. The kitchen, I've always wanted a fully tiled kitchen, and we went for it in this home. So it's floor to ceiling, emerald green tiles. It's got a hand-painted floor. It feels very like old world, like an old English sort of Jamaican kitchen, but at the same time, it really, even though it's so different than the rest of the house, it really works really well. And you kind of turn the corner and suddenly you're just in this emerald jewel box of a room. Okay, welcome to our kitchen. So this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. I have always wanted a fully tiled kitchen, and I finally got it. So it's floor to ceiling, these amazing emerald green tiles. We kept the existing cabinets as is, painted them green, changed out the hardware, found this beautiful green veined marble for the top of the cabinets, for the countertops, and had the floor hand painted again in a diamond pattern in the same green by Mary Mead. The light fixtures overhead are from Urban Electric, and we had those customized in the same green. We built these shelves overhead. We have the brass fixtures, the English deep sink. Yeah, it's just a cozy, great room to cook in. This piece is a vintage Gustavian cabinet, which I found on Cherish, which is perfect for a spice rack, and it fits right here like it was made for the place, between the refrigerator and the counter. And then on this side, we have the butler's pantry. So this is a lovely little extension that's got the wood countertops with the brass edging, this fun geranium leaf wallpaper, and then this one hit of pink in this cabinet here in the corner. In this room, I keep my love of platters and china. These beautiful pieces here I buy from a dealer in Paris, and this is handmade, and I just love, again, the browns and the unusualness of it. It's masculine and rich, but it's very old world. These platters here are a local artist, and they're beautiful. Again, there's a lot of flowers and bees and birds in my life, so these are great for hors d'oeuvres or big bowls of pasta. So we put in these open shelves. These were copied after the Duval shelves, but my guy down here in Florida who works for me is quite the MacGyver, and he can make anything, so he made them for me. We ordered the brass rods and the hooks, so they're great for cookbooks, casserole, dishes, bowls, all kinds of stuff that looks pretty and is useful. So this kitchen is great for cooking, and I have every pot and pan, every single utensil, every spice, so anybody can roll in here and cook an amazing meal. However, that person is generally not me. I tend to make arrangements for dinner or order out, but if you want to come and cook for me, it's all ready. This connecting window between the family room and the kitchen at first was a little bit of a dilemma. It was originally a bar counter. It felt very odd. It felt very diner-ish, and we thought we were going to try to find some old bottle glass, stained glass window, or have something made to put that in here. Ultimately, I did not end up doing that, because the way it turned out, it really does have a nice view into the family room. Somebody can be cooking here and visiting with somebody that's relaxing in that room. And it just also allows for a lot of natural light into this room, which could be dark otherwise. What makes a home come alive? Well, in my situation, it's dogs. I have 3 border terriers, and if I could have 6 or 10, I would in a jiffy, but 3 is sort of the max I can deal with being a single dad. So other than that, obviously I'm gonna say flowers and plants. I think it's really important to bring living elements into a house. It's no cliche that bringing living elements does make it feel alive. And color, I think color, nuances of color, beautiful textiles, wallpapers, things that you love, personal things, kind of really eschewing fashion or trends and just doing something that feels really connected to your soul and your aesthetic. Okay, let's go upstairs. Let me show you my bedroom. Excuse me, come on, Tug. Come on. Okay, welcome to my bedroom. So this room originally had a big closet, which we ripped it out so there was a larger space to create a little bit of a seating area. We moved the bathroom door over so that there was actually a proper wall for the bed. These walls are covered in this amazing printed rattan fabric that's got a pale stripe and a botanical print to it. We put in this closet and lined the panels with the same fabric. And it's very quiet. The curtains are this beautiful soft sage green that pick up the print of the wallpaper. The bed is a 4-poster bed that I had at my house upstate before I sold it and moved down here. Brought in this vintage rattan chaise lounge with the beautiful fabric there for that corner. That fun monkey side table I found from a local dealer down here. So one thing I really love about this room is, again, the hand-painted floor. So this floor is beautiful. It's in the soft blue and green shades, hand-painted by Mary Mead in Atlanta. Picks up all the soft tones. It's very important that this room feels very, very restful, and it does. So it's great to lay in here. The morning light streams in beautifully. The bed looks great right now and very crisp, but there are 3 dogs that sleep with me, so it doesn't always stay like that. But this is just nice, classic Pratisi bed linens. These lamps I bought from a local auction house, and they just give a nice glow to the room with their silk shades. One of the best things about this house was the bathrooms needed very little work. Now, we did have to move the door and put in a sliding door, and I put in this vanity, but the tile was all original to the house. We painted it the same soft green as the trim of the bedroom. This big deep tub was here, so this room was really pretty much ready to go. Okay, let me take you to the dressing room next. I love this room. This was originally a bedroom, but I decided since I would prefer my guests to stay outside in one of the back cottages that I not have guests stay in the house, that I would have to turn this into a dressing room. So we put in these cabinets that are lined with the caning on the 4 corners. It's a great space. It's got a lot of storage. It's got a lot of natural light. It's a great place to just read, to get dressed, to prepare for the day, for packing your bags for trips. And it just overlooks the front of the house, so it just is a nice addition to this whole series of upstairs rooms. These beautiful chairs are pieces that I got years ago in New York. I had them reupholstered in this stark fabric, and I actually loved them so much I kept them as is, did not reupholster them again. They work great in here. It's a perfect spot to read a book, put on your shoes, put the dog collars on, whatever needs to happen. This lamp here is a vintage French piece. It is by Audemars Manet, I believe is his name, and I bought this locally. This is one of my favorite pieces in the house. It's probably from 1960s. It's all made out of sculpted rope with this green glass orb in the middle and the natural burlap lampshade. This here is Leo the lion. He's one of my most prized possessions. He's traveled around with me for years. I bought him at the New York Botanical Gardens show about 15 years ago. He is one of the few pieces I would actually grab and run out with if the house were on fire, besides the dogs. So come with me to the greatest part of the whole house, the outdoor terrace. My approach to floral design and how I design this home or an apartment in New York or my house that I had upstate, they're very similar. I really want to go for something that feels relaxed, that every piece in the house could actually be a conversation piece, but nothing fights. So it feels very curated. There's a lot of interesting things. There's old things, there's new things, there's layers. Layers is a very important word in all of my projects, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's a home. And so that you can be in the environment, and there's a lot of moments of discovery. So as you look around, you notice, details that you didn't necessarily see at first, but nothing is overwhelming. Welcome to my outdoor terrace. This space is such a little treat. It's on the second floor, it overlooks the backyard. The best thing about this house, next to the bathrooms not needing work, was this tile that was already here. So I did not put this tile in. This tile was already existing. We just worked with it, created this wonderful outdoor room with a dining table, with seating area, found this vintage McGuire rattan chaise lounge set, and had these cushions custom made in the mattress style. And it's just a beautiful area to have cocktails, to have coffee in the morning, to visit with friends, to cuddle with the dogs, read a book. It's so relaxing. It gets a nice breeze up here. Or have dinner parties. It's a great place for dinner parties. So this piece behind me, as an ode to my love of all things English and the English countryside, is a dovecote. So these were created in the Cotswolds, and each one of these little holes is where a dove would go and make a nest. So I found this and brought it in. Thought it worked great there. It's a good conversation piece. This coffee table here was from a dealer down in West Palm Beach. It's this sort of Moroccan style, very large piece. It has the greens and the reds and the blues, picks up beautifully with the tiles existing. So it's a great piece, and it's also nice because of the scale is so large. I don't have to have a lot of little pieces, and it really grounds this end of the space. So over on this end, I put a dining table. This is a great space. It works great as a bar for a cocktail party or for an intimate dinner in the evening. This old wood table, there's nothing precious about it. It survives all the elements, and the older and the more beat up it gets, the better it looks. I found these vintage French bistro chairs that I've surrounded it with. Right now it's got a big old snake plant in the middle, but this has to come off if I'm setting it for dinner. But it's a nice cozy area to have a dining this area, lounge on the other side, and it really takes, again, a big space and breaks it into smaller usable rooms. What does the word home mean to me? Well, let's just put it this way. There's a famous expression that says go big or go home, and I like to turn that around and say, why go big when I can go home? Home is very important to me. Home, my dogs, my relationships, this is literally where my life is grounded. This is where I want to be. I can work here, I can sleep here, I can entertain here, I can have friends over. It's just, I can't express enough how important it is to invest in your living situation. It literally trickles down, not even trickles, it gushes down into the rest of your life, and just keeps you grounded.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Corinne. Welcome to my home in West Palm Beach. I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi there, my name is Corinne Belock. I'm the owner of Palm Beach Regency, a vintage furniture business here in West Palm Beach. So we are sitting in the entryway of our home here in El Cid in West Palm Beach. El Cid is a historic neighborhood very close to downtown West Palm Beach, and we live in a 1920s style Mediterranean home. It's very well known throughout the neighborhood that the homes were built in the 1920s, and many of them are in this style. The thing that's really fun about our home is it's historically marked as 1924, but actually we did a little research with the city, and the first structure was built here in 1905, so there's a possibility it's one of the oldest houses in El Cid. So I can tell you a little bit about how we stumbled across this house. A very dear friend of mine lived 2 doors down. We're on Dyer Road, and I was at a tennis lesson, and I get a text when I get out, and she's like, "There's a home for sale on my street." I immediately left the tennis lesson and drove by and saw that there was an open house sign up, which I thought was perfect. So I walk right into the open house, and funny enough, it was an open house for realtors because this is the first home we've ever purchased, so I had no idea how it worked. But I immediately walked in and could see the flow of the place, could see how we could make it our own. And so it was a really exciting find that day, to be sure. My immediate reaction was, oh my gosh, there's so much light and so many windows. So my biggest fear about having an old home is that the windows would have to be redone completely. But we got so lucky that the windows are all original to the home, and in fact had even better hurricane glass already put in. So the light was a big draw for me. And then the other thing, which isn't a draw for everyone, but is a major draw for my husband and I, is that they're really well-defined rooms. So our home isn't open concept. It creates cozy nooks for spaces, which I guess I've always been drawn to. So those were the 2 things that really intrigued me about the home. My husband and I own Palm Beach Regency, which is a vintage furniture business down here in West Palm Beach. And we purchased the business 3 years ago. So prior to that, we had lived in a rental on Palm Beach Island and then purchased this as our first home. So in furnishing our rental and then this house, I shopped at Palm Beach Regency all the time and really fell in love with the rattan and the islandy style of that decor. And so that really started to inform how I wanted my, forever home to be. So Palm Beach Regency had a big play in that. And then now as owners, it's pretty fascinating because when I find something I love, it's really hard because I do need to sell it. But at the same time, I try to bring home a treasure like once or twice a year that's really gonna be a forever piece in my home. So we are in the entry living room of our home at 320 Dyer, and the thing that's interesting about Florida entryways is that you really come right off the door into the space. So there's no coat rack, there's no place for storage. This is just where you come right in. So decorating it was actually kind of a challenge. This room is really, to me, has some of the most vintage throughout the home, from the storage piece where I keep our party gear. This is like all the July 4th stuff, birthday stuff, all that weird stuff you collect, to the central table. That's a really fun rattan piece from Palm Beach Regency. I'm not a particularly clutter heavy person, but when I find something I love, it always has a home. So this is the OCD part where the pink bird faces the doorway at all times. I know, I'm a weirdo, so this is an adorable bird. Surprisingly, he's not vintage. He's from another local dealer that does imports down here in Florida, but I just fell in love with it. I am overly sensitive to the fact that I can't have this home be all pink and green because I would if I could, but my husband lives here too. So within every space, I try to incorporate something that he loves or something that I know is within his comfort zone. So obviously, Bruce Springsteen, books, and he's a big reader, as am I. So our home is sprinkled with books, which you'll see throughout, but a lot of these are really meaningful to him or to the both of us. And then I'd like to share that this is a faux orchid from Palm Bungalow in West Palm. You would never know. I am busy, so I have no shame. It's the best fake that I could find. It's incredible. I probably struggled with the layout in this room more than anything because I'm all about usefulness within a room, and sometimes this room is just meant to be pretty. So we have a bit of a seating area over here, which also heavily featured with Palm Beach Regency vintage pieces. If I have a girlfriend over, maybe we'll have a cocktail here, especially in the summer in Florida when it can be super duper hot. It's sometimes nice to be able to like have a cocktail inside. I know that sounds crazy, but it is so hot. This little jail cell that we have created here, no, just kidding, this is super old. I have no idea who or what this is about, but we had to keep it because weird details, I'm all about it. When I grew up, we had a willow tree in our yard. And so when I found this on Stray Dog Designs, I absolutely fell in love. The green was the perfect shade of green. And it was called the willow tree chandelier or something like that. So it just really evoked so many like happy childhood memories. I love this piece. And it just sets the tone for the entire room. This is what I would call the COVID chaise. So during COVID, I was lounging quite a bit because I couldn't work and I had a lot of free time. So this got a lot of use during that time. I hope one day again to be lounging here as much as possible. So I did a collection of course, pink and green because that's the overall sort of color theme for this room. But it was truly inspired by this textile that I found in Chichicastenango in Guatemala that I literally got chased down the street for because I love like crazy shopping experiences, but it really set the tone. And so I tried to pull some of these colors. You know, some of these are like Suriname lily pillows. This one's from Mexico. This one was God knows where, how old it is. And you know, I really ground everything. You know, my textiles and my budget are somewhat, you know, normal. So I use a sunbrella fabric sometimes just to like make it all come together, and you'll see a lot of stripes throughout the house. So that's kind of where that comes from. I love traveling in Guatemala. It's an incredible place, one of my favorite cities. I'm hoping to go back there in September. But my girlfriend and I went out to Chichicastenango, which is this incredible market in, it's not in a major city. It's kind of like a 3-hour drive from a major city in Guatemala. And we immediately get out and we're just going nuts. I mean, the textiles, the colors, the everything. Well, me being sort of responsible, I saw this piece and was passing on it. Not because I wasn't going to come back, but literally I was just like, well, we just got here. Like, is it the first thing I buy? You know, I just was, sometimes I get a little cautious on that. But this woman was convinced that this was for me and literally followed us throughout the market. So after like 10 minutes of her following us, and she was being adorable and sweet, and we were laughing through the whole thing. But the funny thing is, literally 10 minutes is all it took. I was like, give it to me, it's mine. And literally, it's one of my favorite things in my home, along with some other pillows that she chased me down for. But those are the kind of adventures that I love to have, and they always create the best pieces, in your home. I would say that the biggest inspiration for me over the last 15 years has definitely been travel. We started traveling when we lived in New York City to the Caribbean, and that was an immediate sort of, let's just get out of the city, let's get somewhere warm and beautiful. But I was really fortunate over the last 10 years to travel quite extensively, through Morocco, Europe, and also through Central and South America, and Mexico as well. So those places have really informed a lot of my inspiration into my own home. Everything from the colors and textiles to collecting individual like handmade pieces. That's all a huge part of the stuff I love in homes, things that you can't find anywhere else. And so it's really interesting now to do that with actual vintage found in South Florida, because I have a love for things that are just unique and one of a kind. So when I find it, I want other people to have that in their homes as well, just to give every home like a sense of it's not like anyone else's. You would never see this anywhere else. That's always my goal when I'm trying to like decide how to, finish off a room. So now I want to take you into the office in the house. Prior to us buying Palm Beach Regency, this was actually my office. I used it when I had a home organization business, so the decor color scheme was just a little bit different. So now that I spend all my time working at Palm Beach Regency in the warehouse or the showroom, I transitioned it to my husband's office. So I made the colors just a smidge more masculine. I went with blues because they work well with the other colors we have in the home. So nothing too wild or crazy, but I love this space. The most remarkable thing about it, maybe one of the things that drew me to the home, were the original Cuban tile floors. So we didn't touch these guys. We left all the original spots and patina and everything that makes it charming. I don't even know the last time they've been swept, to be honest. So it's really natural in here. Otherwise, really just went with something that would keep the light in the room. So I didn't want to focus on anything covering the windows. We're really okay if you want to peek in my home and see me working at my desk. Go ahead. It's really fascinating. So we kept the light flowing into this space really well. As a former organizer, I am a bit about like a clean desk policy, I know. So the glass desk, I think, was from Wisteria. It's super heavy, but it is the kind of piece that lets the floor shine. And then obviously storage, not that that's sexy, but I mean, you gotta have practical storage in an office. So this is a photo of two little babies, actually. My husband and I, this is, I think, we met in 2004 and we got married in 2010. And this photo is, I think, from like 2005. So it was one of the original, like, your best friend's wedding photos. And I love it. And it reminds me of how young I used to look. And he used to look. And so we've been married since 2010, and he works with me full-time in the business. He does some consulting stuff, but he primarily works with me in the business, and it's amazing. I mean, it's hard, but it's amazing. One thing you'll see in this office is the first of many, which is I travel to Morocco, and I can't not buy poofs. Somebody can tell me that poofs are like overdone. I still keep finding a way to work them into every room in my home. And so this is what I would call like the masculine poof for my husband's office. So that was like a good compromise. So that's a fun detail there. And then the other thing I love in this room is this chair, which we got when we moved for the first time out of New York City. It was our first like big purchase. I mean, I think it's from, again, I think it was Wisteria that made it, but it's just a beautiful modernist style chair that, like, who knew it would work so perfectly in Florida all these years later and sort of become a piece that I'm just so fond of and reminds me of those like first purchases for sure. In those travels to Chichicastenango, one of the things they do in that portion of Guatemala, in areas of Guatemala, are these amazing bird embroidery pieces. So this piece was originally in my office as well. I fell in love with like the black and white split on the textile. And then funny enough, when we transitioned this to be DJ's office, it just perfectly worked. So, you know, other than switching out like a pillow here or, you know, some storage bins, it just like the space all tied together so easily. When we started furnishing this home and any, you know, our homes that are rental on the island and everything else, I will find rattan wherever I can find it. This is a Serena Lily light fixture. We actually even had this in our first house the time we moved out of New York City many, many years ago. And so it has been now through 3 homes with us. And I just love it. The simple arch of it really mimics the arches that are shown kind of throughout the house, and it doesn't distract again from the most important piece in the house, which is the, you know, the Cuban tile floors in this space. So now we're going to walk into our dining room, which is just off the office. This is probably the most commented on piece in our home, which is the ping pong dining room table. I saw this in Coastal Living before we even bought the house, and a designer out of the Panhandle of Florida had done it for a custom piece for a Coastal Living home. Her name is Erica Powell, and I was obsessed with it and had no idea if I even had a dining room that it would ever fit it, but it was like the first thing that I needed to get as soon as we found a home. Luckily enough, I got it. I secured it. I fell in love with the seafoam color. I picked the chartreuse color base, which I'm still obsessed with generally as a color. And it is amazing. The thing I love about it is it seats 8. So when we're ready to entertain, we literally just pull up these vintage Brighton chairs to the ends. We got our paddles here. We pull up these to the ends of the table. It seats 8, and when we're not using it, I use it as a display for like a beautiful page of an open book, for example. This poolside with Slim Aarons just always gets me in a vintage mood, but I just walk past and find a new page, and this one's speaking to me today. My friend is a florist. I don't always have these beautiful flowers here. I would like to say maybe I'll have like an orchid from the grocery store, but today I've got these beautiful blooms that she made for me when she was in town. This is an adorable little pineapple, like, I don't know, cookie jar or something. That's what we keep the ping pong balls in. And then, of course, our paddles are on a elegance dish, which could also be put here. I might need to invest in some different paddles because the last time my husband and his buddy were playing, there was a bit more scraping than I'm comfortable with, and some little blue lines were left on the table. So, you know, I would say this. It's for some light ping pong. We're not looking to scratch anybody's dining table. I love it too much, but it is a fun place to gather, a fun place to have dinner, and it's absolutely a conversation starter. So that's probably the extent of the ping pong that gets played. Another shell, I feel like the blush color on it, the yellowing matte, I just fell in love with this piece. I bought it at a local secondhand store well before I owned Palm Beach Regency. And I just love the scale of it. It brings me joy. It's airy, it's light. So that's my, definitely set the tone after the dining table for this space. I would describe my style as fairly laid back. We are lovers of the Caribbean, lovers of the islands. So I think I drew a lot of inspiration from that over the years. So I would say laid back, a little bit coastal, but a little on the island side of coastal. And I think, the other thing is it's pretty clean. I like spaces not too overly cluttered. So that's how I would probably describe it. I'd love to show you my butler's pantry and my kitchen. So follow me. So this is obviously an original detail to the home. We didn't want to touch it at all, to be honest. I fell in love with the old hardware on the house. On the butler pantry doors. I fell in love with it. The old tingy glass. And, the only thing that I would say updated it is that I really tried to go with a theme in the color. So if you look up, we had the first of many, not the first, the third of many, many stripes throughout the home, and a simple sort of modern, leather chandelier, right? Or light fixture. So that blue tone really set the theme for me. And funny enough, over the years, I had collected blues and tones of blues in glassware and things. Really simple, nothing fancy. A lot of it collected through travels in Marrakesh and other countries, bowls and dishes and all that stuff. So I would say that's what really set the tone in here. This vintage glassware just like sums up the color perfectly. It's like the color of the ocean. And so that's kind of what we wanted to go for in here. We kept the original to purchase mahogany countertops in here. You'll see in the kitchen we have very little storage, but like I have got all the storage I need down here for pots and pans and everything. So, the kitchen footprint is small, but with the butler's pantry, it's more than enough for our family to sort of use and love. The other thing I would point out, because this is a little nod to my husband, so this is the Ode to Cleveland. My husband grew up in Cleveland. His mother had originally given him this poster, In Motion for the Millennium, in 1999, so now you know how old we are. And I found this original photography about Cleveland, and I just like to bring his personality into this space as much as possible. So moving from my little nook into our kitchen. So the kitchen was kind of interesting. When we purchased it, I didn't love what was going on here, but I also knew that I didn't have much budget to change any footprint of it. So I was like, how do we make this work? So the main thing is we kept the original mahogany countertops. So to me, in this kitchen, I feel like I am in a Caribbean home kitchen, right? So it's got mahogany countertops, crisp white walls, things that speak to like a Caribbean vibe to me. And so I really embrace that in the color theme as well. So I went with yellow and green, which is like always one of my favorite color combinations. So I'm shocked. I, of course, found a way to work that into the home overall. A friend of mine who's a local potter, her business is called Avenue Pottery. She hand did the tile, the mermaid tile, behind the stove. So that backsplash is such a really special detail for us. And then I love things like pineapple baskets, of which I will pick up on all of my travels. So one of my favorite things about this kitchen is also the nooks. So there's another nook here, which is our bar. So before we were able to renovate the guest house, we definitely needed somewhere to gather with friends and pour drinks and have fun. So this was it, and we had to keep it because honestly, again, the summer heat can be intense, so a bar inside's not the worst thing. Some of my favorite things here are the art, to be honest. Meaningful photographs. This is the location where we were married in Anguilla in the British West Indies. And then this was the actual, a friend of mine had our wedding location sketched. And you'll see the differences, but this was pre-hurricane, and it was renovated for the post-hurricane. We honeymooned in Mystique, so that's a wonderful Slim Aarons photo from Mystique, which always makes nice memories. My husband's Irish, so we have this Irish man here. And, you know, overall collected and loved, and vintage bar books, all that stuff is such a fun thing to collect and find. So I guess I do have a collection issue now that I think about it. So I don't have like one set collection. I feel like I sell things when I find them, so that's a little bit tough for me to say. But I will say this, if you count the number of chairs in this home, you will be shocked. It is so many for 2 people who live here. That's a pretty ridiculous thing. And then I would say I'm also drawn to lamps. I could buy lamps and switch out lamps all day long in this home. The only thing stopping me is that our lamps sell really fast, so I don't even get a chance to bring them home. For me, the old vintage, unique pieces give a home soul. They create a story, they remind you of experiences in travel, they remind you of your wedding day or whenever your children were born or whatever it is. And so I think the collections are the most special thing about a home. So before we head upstairs, you have to see this amazing shell mirror that I had made. So a gal that worked for me that does a ton of custom shell mirrors had this made specifically for me. Of course I said, go pink. I'll always love pink, I just know that. And this version of it is a little bit wild and crazy. I wanted it to feel like almost like organically put together, not too pretty, not too perfect, kind of just like the home. I like it to be a little bit fun and funky. Welcome to our primary bathroom upstairs. So this is probably the other space that made me fall in love with the home. It's the original Florida porch off the house. So at one point this was a fully open structure, and prior to us moving here, someone had renovated it very smartly into the primary bathroom off the master bedroom. I fell in love with this. The original Pecky ceilings are just stunning. You know, these have barely been wiped of cobwebs. I mean, we keep it really natural in here, and I love it. It has this like island Caribbean, like I come home every day from Palm Beach Regency and my feet are aching and I'm exhausted, and I hop into this tub. And we got incredibly lucky on the master bathroom that we didn't have to do extreme stuff, right? So the tub was actually here and the shower was here, and the tile works for me. Maybe it wouldn't have been like my first choice in the entire world, but budget-wise and color-wise, it reminds me of sand, which sort of went with the overall vibe I was hoping for. And so we ended up keeping it, and the layout was perfect. We actually did redo both the his and hers vanities and had custom vanities made and put in. And so that was the biggest upgrade, as well as hardware, mirror, sinks, faucets, all that stuff, just to give it a more modernized look and feel, and to keep it light and airy, just like we were hoping this bathroom would feel. So now I'd love to show you the guest bedroom upstairs. Follow me. So welcome to the guest bedroom in the main house. This is where, when you come visit me, you can stay. This is a really interesting space. To be completely honest, it really was at first a mishmash of all the pieces after we decorated that I didn't quite know where to put. But somehow it just like tied all together. Starting with the light fixture in this room, this was one of the first pieces, and it's not vintage, to be completely honest. I think it's PB teen, something crazy, right? But this was before I was able to find vintage versions of this, and I collected it, and it's a precious palm leaf. The scale of it's always good for an old home because it's not too big. That's sometimes hard to find in tall chandeliers. So I love that guy, so fun. And then my other favorite thing, it reminds me of a tennis club, like you just walked into a tennis club and you want to put on tennis whites and play. Again, the only thing that has touched this chair in the last 60 years is probably my Clorox wipes, because I did not change a thing about the upholstery. I kept all the original vinyl on it, and I just love it. Even like the little details. The piping in green, it's just perfect. So that guy also had to come home with me immediately when it walked in the store. I collected this Italian rattan bench in one of my early purchases at Palm Beach Regency. And as much as I love it, I knew in the primary bedroom, I wanted to go a little more old Hollywood kind of glam. So I was like, how do I work this in somewhere? It's perfect here. And I love this at the footboard. This is another key Palm Beach Regency find. We sell these like all day long, and these are the faux bamboo Thomas. So I feel like I'm on a commercial for my store. I'm not. But I love this piece. It's such a great classic faux bamboo Thomasville chest. The golden color is what sold me on it for the space. When I'm doing a room, shockingly enough, I like linen, white linen bedding. And I don't know if it's because I know I want to have fun with pillows and headboards and other fabrics that I bring in, and other textiles. Like this was the sister to my Chichi Castanego find downstairs. And this has always been on the foot of every guest room we've had. And it just sets the color tone for every space. Again, the amazing little fun, somebody would have walked right past it, but I fell in love with it, rug from, I believe this one was from somewhere in Mexico. I'm blanking all of a sudden. But anyways, the colors were perfect. I used the guest bedroom to put pieces that otherwise like just didn't fit somewhere. So this is a wonderful example. Is like, you know, old photographs in frames that still have like sentimental value, but things that are orange didn't quite fit anywhere else, but when I tied it with the Marrakesh flare, it somehow works along with blue. So it's just a room and a space for me to fully experiment with color, whereas in some of the other spaces I try to like rein myself in. It's pretty hard, but I do try. So when we purchased the house, we didn't have to touch the main home. The structure, was all intact. We didn't have to take out any walls or do any major work. And I love that about the main house. But the really fun part has been that we did have a full demo of the backyard guest house. And we really created a space that just works so perfectly for my husband and I. So we basically created an outdoor loggia bar, and we spend a lot of time out there with friends. We live in South Florida, so our friends from across the country visit all the time, and we spend, almost 90% of our time out there hanging out and having fun and enjoying some cocktails. And so I would say that is definitely the thing that's most special and certainly unique to this home. Welcome to the guest house. This was a structure that really was a full gut renovation. So we're in a historic home, so we couldn't change the footprint of the size of the guest house, but we had that space to work with. So we essentially had to demo it down to the studs. They even poured new concrete because we were having some water drainage issues. So this really is a truly new structure for us that we created. And so the yellow and white Ballard couch pulls out to a queen bed, so we can sleep multiple sets of friends here at the same time, which is really fun. So we love to entertain and have friends in from out of town for that. And then moving into this, we use it in the summer quite a bit as well. When it's too hot to sit outside, just grab a drink at the bar and come in here. So that's what we sort of love to do. I would say that one of the most unique things, it's probably not for everyone, but it's definitely for me and my husband, is the photography on the walls in the guest house. So I knew that I wanted to go a little more crisp and clean, not too overly collected in this space. I wanted it to feel very much the style of our home, but also a little bit like it was a little vacation for someone, right? So a little bit of like a little hotel vibe, a funky hotel vibe. So we picked a really clear color theme, yellow. Green here is a neutral for us in this house. So yellow is the big color statement, but I knew I wanted black and white photography. So this is Steven Spielberg in the mouth of Jaws, which is bizarre, but I love. Jaws is one of my favorite movies. To me, it says summer. So when I have friends come from the north to stay, hopefully they see Jaws and they just think about their best summer memory that they've ever had. So that's sort of the tie-in. And then there's a piece of work, photography in the guest bathroom as well, that ties the two together. That's really fun. We decided to make one corner of the room into a banquette, and we have storage underneath these seats. So it's amazing. Again, the stripes throughout, and this space in particular has a ton of PBR finds, mainly because when we were building it, we had already become owners of Palm Beach Regency. So I was like, we can't buy anything, must come from the store. So everything from the big round oyster shell mirror on the wall to the Saarinen table, which I was lucky enough to find and went immediately in my car because I knew I had a spot for it, to the side tables, the chairs, the screen, which we use here for privacy when we have guests. I was nervous about the space being too dark, but our trick to it was to make this a window. It had to actually be a window because of our historical regulations. It had to be a garage door front, actually. So we did a little trick where we built a garage door front for inspection. Okay, now I'm telling all the sins. And we put the mirror behind it, the window behind it. So after inspection, we just had to take down the front, and we had this mirror right here. So for privacy when guests stay, we just pull this screen across, and it's like the best thing. So when I picked the color theme of yellow, it was like vintage Smeg fridge is a must. So luckily they make these new, it's not vintage, and it was just totally set the tone for the space. Yellow is one of my favorite colors, makes me incredibly happy, so hopefully I'll never get sick of it. I don't think I will at this point. And then if you move over here, these are two of my truly salvaged PBR finds. These were a hot mess. I was able to restore them into two unique game table chairs for this vintage style Atari game table, which was, again, a pure treat for my husband. He loves it. I do not play anything, maybe occasionally miss Pac-Man terribly, but he and his friends and any guests and kids we have come stay with us, this is like their favorite thing in the whole house. So it's really fun. One of the best features that we kind of created was this flow-through doorway. So it goes straight from the main guest room to the outside, so that if you're outside, you can come through that door, you don't have to walk through. So it was kind of like, it's been a really great aspect of the design that we did. My favorite tie back, though, is the terrified children running off the beach from the movie Jaws, which ties to Steven Spielberg in the main room. The image had the perfect shades of ocean blue and like this vintage feel. When I saw it, I was like, this is both terrifying and hilarious. So it's one of my favorite things. The other thing that I would say about this space is that we kept it really simple with the shower, but the callback to the tile inside of the house, the kitchen, my friend handmade all of that gorgeous green emerald tile, which I hope one day will be in the inside of my pool as well. Fingers crossed. So that's that, and I love it in here. It's a little oasis. What does home mean to me is a really tough question. You know, my husband and I are in our home a lot now because of owning Palm Beach Regency, but we've never been homebodies. You know, I was always the person traveling and having a new experience. We don't have children, so we really took advantage of the last 15 years and have done a ton of that. So for me, I would say home is a place that inspires and reminds you of how good your life is. That's what I'd say. You know, when I look around our home, I see travels, experiences, photos of friends and family, things that are, again, one of a kind and unique to our space. And also, you know, home is about being obviously fully comfortable and relaxed. And overall, our home is definitely that. So I think that's what home means to me. So now for our grand finale, the outdoor loggia bar. I would say that this loggia bar that we had built off the guest house is the heart and soul of our home, because it's truly where we spend so much time with friends and family. So what in Palm Beach, what we call loggia is a structure that's attached to the building that has open air sides. So this isn't an awning, this is actually a structure that's attached to the guest house. And if you look up, we finished the ceiling with Pecky wood cypress, which is sprinkled throughout the home from our front door to our living room. It is an original characteristic of homes from the 1920s and especially old Florida. So that was a really fun detail that we wanted to bring in, matching the dark color of the wood to what you see throughout the home. My husband and I were sort of convinced that we wanted a hotel lobby type bar, not like a traditional sit-up high bar. So we had a countertop bar hand poured with pebbles and shells from concrete. It has all the peckled top and character that we really hoped it would. And so this is really the mainstay of the bar. And then the front part of the bar, as you can see, we had the Pecky cypress wood done all throughout the side of the bar as well, just to mimic the ceiling and to give it like a real grounded feel. The primary exciting piece, I just save up a lot of birthdays for this one, is the white gold pebble ice machine. I know. I grew up in Texas. I love ice, and pebble ice is like the best ice. So that was my big splurge, let's put it that way. And obviously we've got the sailfish and tons of vintage and meaningful art sprinkled throughout the wall here, from old Slamarans art to DJ captaining a boat on our honeymoon. He's the captain. And we love rum, we love the Caribbean, so we always keep a good stock of our rum here. So this is when things get really wild. We bring out the wheeled and lighted karaoke machine. Sometimes you'll just find me out here singing badly when I've had a stressful day. It only takes like one glass of wine to get me fired up. Deej is the heart and center. This is my husband of the loggia. And so when guests come over, one of our favorite things to do, he makes rum punch. And so rum punch is super significant because when you travel to old hotels in the Caribbean, they welcome you with a rum punch. And so since we're trying to sort of create a hotel vacation vibe in our house like 24/7, the rum punch is key. And so cheers. Thank you for coming into our home and checking it out, and hopefully you can stop by and next time we'll give you a rum punch.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.